At the farthest edge of our planet, where the horizon fades into ice and the sky hums with ancient wind, there exists a world so untouched that it feels older than time itself. It is not a place meant for the faint of heart, for here the air can cut through bone. The cold can silence even thought, and the sun itself vanishes for months, leaving behind an endless night. But hidden within that darkness, there is movement, there is heartbeat, there is life that refuses to die. This is Antarctica, the wild heart of the earth, a continent of contradictions, both merciless and miraculous, where every breath is a battle and every creature is a survivor. The camera drifts above an ocean frozen in time, a vast expanse of white that stretches beyond. Imagination beneath it, water teems with secrets so alien they could belong to another world. This is where the largest creatures on Earth meet the smallest, where giants rise from the deep to feed on swarms of life so tiny they could pass through your fingers, where the emperor penguin stands against the fiercest storms, protecting a single egg as if the future of the planet depends on it. This is where survival is not a choice, but a calling, as the wind howls across the glaciers and the auroras dance like spirits in the frozen sky. The land seems to whisper a message to those who dare to listen. It is the voice of endurance, the voice of unity, the reminder that life, no matter how small or fragile, always finds a way in the age of cities, noise, and distraction. It is easy to forget that somewhere at the end of the world, nature still writes its own laws without mercy, without apology, and yet with breathtaking beauty. So if you have ever wondered what it means to be alive, what it means to fight for existence, to stand against the impossible, come closer. The journey begins where the world ends. Welcome to the wild heart of Antarctica. In the beginning, there is only silence, the kind that hums through the bones and fills the air with a weight heavier than sound, a silence that stretches across the endless horizon of white and blue and gray. This is the kingdom of ice, last untouched realm of the earth, a continent sculpted by wind and time, where nothing grows, where nothing yields, where everything survives. By sheer will alone here, the air is so cold it burns each breath, crystallizes before it leaves the rent for lives. Mouth. Each gust of wind carries the sting of frozen needles. The temperature can plunge lower than anywhere else on the planet. Yet even in this frozen void, life endures. Life has always endured. The sun hangs low on the horizon, casting long shadows that crawl across the surface of glaciers, the size of mountains. The ice itself groans and shifts, moving inch by inch like a sleeping giant beneath the pressure of its own weight. These glaciers are older than civilization, older than memory they carry within. Have them the stories of 100,000 winters. They are the pulse of the earth, slow, relentless, eternal. This is a world that does not welcome life, but demands its respect. It does not forgive mistakes. It does not compromise, and yet it shelters some of the most extraordinary beings ever to walk, swim, or fly upon this planet, deep within this frozen empire. Colonies of emperor penguins stand huddled together like armies of shadows, stretching across the plain. Their feathers shimmer under the faint light of a sun that never truly rises. They are the rulers of this icy domain, not because of their strength, but because of their endurance. Each winter they march farther than any creature would dare, across a land where no vegetation grows, where no shelter exists, and where the air itself seems to whisper death. Their journey begins when the sea freezes, sealing off the waters they feed from. As other creatures flee north to warmer oceans, the penguins move inland toward the heart of the continent to breed the males, and females walk side by side hundreds of miles across the frozen desert. Guided only by instinct, the wind batters their bodies, yet they do not stop. They cannot stop. They march in silence, only the sound of their claws scraping against the ice, and the soft whistle of the wind fills the air. By the time they reach their breeding grounds, they are exhausted, but the journey is far from over. The females lay a single egg, precious and fragile. Then they return to the sea, leaving the prebble males behind to guard the bozir. Next generation, each father balances the egg carefully on his feet, wrapping it in a fold of warm skin to shield it from the deadly cold. The temperature outside may fall below -70 degrees, yet inside that tiny pocket of warmth, life begins to stir. Days blur into nights. Though there is no real difference, the sky remains a curtain of darkness. The blizzards come without warning. The wind howls like a living thing, sometimes reaching 100 miles an hour, burying everything in snow still. The fathers endure. They huddle together, forming a living wall of feathers. Their bodies press tightly to share heat at the center of the circle. The youngest and weakest find refuge. Those at the outer edge take the full force of the storm. When they grow too cold, they slowly move inward, and others take their place. It is a rotation of survival, a quiet act of unity that has continued for millions of years. There are no leaders, no orders, no language, yet the instinct to protect each other is absolute. This is not survival by competition. This is survival by cooperation. It is a lesson. The human world has long forgotten months pass. The endless night stretches on hunger, gnaws at their bodies. Each male has not eaten since the journey began. They lose almost half their weight, yet they remain unwavering because beneath their feet rests everything that matters. A fragile oval of life, beating faintly inside its shell. Then one day, a sound breaks the silence, a faint crack like the first note of a song that has waited an eternity to be heard. The first chick begins to hatch. The fathers bow their heads. Listening, the sound spreads across the colony one by one. Tiny voices fill the darkness, a chorus of new life in a land that should have none. When the mothers finally return from the sea, they carry food in their bellies, traveling across miles of shifting ice, guided by the memory of stars. They feed the newborns and relieve their starving mates. Together the family reunites beneath the pale light of Greeley. The returning sun. When the first rays break over the horizon, the world glitters as if dusted with diamonds. The darkness fades and color returns to the ice. The chicks huddle beneath their parents, soft gray down, shimmering like ash in the portal. Dawn, the fathers who endured the long night step aside to rest their task, complete their sacrifice. Written in the very snow around them, above the frozen plains, the air fills with the cries of life, a reminder that even in the coldest place on Earth, warmth can still be found. The penguins are not alone in this kingdom. As the sea ice begins to crack and the ocean awakens, other beings rise from the deep. The seals return sleek and silver, sliding through the water like ghosts they haul themselves onto the ice to bask in the brief sunlight. Their dark eyes mirror the endless horizon for them too. This world is home. They hunt fish beneath the ice, using sonar and instinct to navigate the labyrinth of tunnels hidden below their breath. Creates small holes in the blam surface, where they rise to inhale, a ritual of survival as old as the continent itself. Farther out in the open sea, the water churns with motion. Great shadows glide beneath the surface. A fin breaks the waves, then another, until a pod of orcas emerges, their black and white bodies slicing through the water with precision. They are the hunters of this frozen world, intelligent, coordinated, powerful. They work together to trap seals, using waves to break the ice and drag their prey into the sea. Their movements are flawless. Each member knows its role. Their language is a symphony of clicks and whistles that echo through the depths beneath the surface. They speak to one another in a code older than human words, Beyond the orcas, the giants of the ocean return from their migrations. Blue whales, the largest creatures to ever exist. They rise slowly from the depths, their immense bodies shimmering in the pale light, their exhalations burst into the air like geysers, a sound that echoes across the endless sea. Their presence is both humbling and terrifying. For all their size, they feed on the smallest of life forms, the krill, billions of them drifting like clouds beneath the waves. It is a strange truth that the mightiest depend on the meek, that the survival of the giant rests on the swarm of the small. The krill bloom with the summer sun, feeding on the microscopic plants that flourish. When the ice recedes, they form vast shimmering curtains that move with the current, glowing faintly as light filters. Through the water, this is the heartbeat of the Antarctic, the unseen pulse that sustains everything. If the krill were to vanish, the whales would vanish, the seals would starve, the penguins would fade into memory, and the ocean itself would fall silent. Everything here exists in balance, a fragile web of connection held together by rhythm and time. The ice melts, the sea blooms, the krill rise, the whales feed, the penguins hunt, and the circle begins again above the waves. The albatross glides on winds that never rest. Its wings stretch over 10 feet wide, allowing it to circle the globe without stopping. It rides the storm, not against it. The bird moves with the chaos, turning fury into grace. In the cold wind, it cries out a sound both lonely and eternal, echoing across the waves like a hymn. It is the voice of freedom, the song of the sky. Each life in this frozen kingdom plays its part perfectly. The emperor, penguins, the whales, the seals, the krill, the birds, all bound by a silent agreement with nature. Each takes what is needed, nothing more. Each gives back what is required, nothing less. There is no greed, no waste, only harmony. The ice does not ask permission to form the sea, does not apologize for taking back the shore. It simply is, and life adapts. The beauty of Antarctica is not in its perfection, but in its struggle. Every moment here is a negotiation between life and death, a reminder that existence itself is an act of defiance. For every chick that survives, 1,000 perish. For every whale that feeds, countless krill are consumed. Yet there is no cruelty, only balance, the kind that the modern world has forgotten. Humanity measures success in conquest, but here, survival is measured in endurance and cooperation. The emperor penguin does not rule through dominance, but through unity. It thrives because it stands together, and perhaps that is the lesson hidden beneath this frozen world, that strength does not come from standing alone, but from standing as one. As the sun climbs higher, the continent awakens. The ice reflects light like polished glass. The air shimmers with motion. Whales breach, seals dive, birds take flight. The sound of life fills the once silent world. It is fleeting, for soon the sun will fade and the cold will return. Ocean will freeze and the long night will fall again. But that is the rhythm of this place, the eternal heartbeat of the wild heart of Antarctica. And as long as it beats, there is hope for the earth itself. For in this frozen kingdom, untouched by greed and guided only by instinct, we see the purest reflection of what it means to live, to struggle, to endure, to belong. And that is why the kingdom of ice remains sacred, not because it is distant or desolate, but because within its silence lies the truth of all life. That even in the harshest corners of existence, where the cold tries to erase everything, something always rises, something always fights, something always finds a way to survive. The wild heart of Antarctica beats not only beneath the ice, but within every living thing that dares to endure. The ocean stretches beyond the horizon, a vast mirror of shifting blue and silver, alive with movement and sound and secrets. It is morning in the Antarctic summer, and the light dances across the water like liquid fire beneath the surface. Cold is sharp and clear, a world of silence and rhythm, a realm ruled by giants from the deep. The blue whales have returned, drawn by the pulse of life that rises from the melting ice. They come from every corner of the Southern Ocean, following invisible paths. Written by memory and instinct, they move slowly, gracefully, their bodies immense and silent, gliding through the depths like living continents. Each whale carries with it the history of the sea, the stories of migration, hunger, survival, song. They are the largest creatures to ever live on this planet, yet they feed on the smallest, a truth that binds the vast and the fragile together, the way only nature can. As they rise through the water, shafts of light break across their backs, revealing scars and streaks from centuries of existence. Their skin glows a pale blue-gray like the shadow of the sky. Their eyes, deep and calm, hold a wisdom that feels older than time. When a whale exhales, the sound is thunder. A plume of mist explodes into the freezing air, a brief cloud against the endless sky, before vanishing into nothingness. This moment repeats across the sea, hundreds of miles apart, yet perfectly synchronized, a ritual of breath and life. Their calls echo through the ocean, low, deep and haunting, a vibration that travels farther than any sound made by life. It is not a voice, but a feeling, one that trembles through the water and into the bones of all who listen. Somewhere below, another whale answers the two melodies, merge, weaving together like threads of an ancient song. The sea itself becomes a symphony of movement and memory. The whales dive again, descending into the dark, where the light fades and the pressure builds. The deeper they go, the quieter the world becomes. Here the sun cannot reach, yet the whales are not lost. They navigate by instinct, by the pulse of the earth itself. Their massive hearts beat slowly, steady, powerful. Each thud, a reminder that even in the most crushing depths, life continues. The krill gather below, a drifting storm of pink and silver, billions of tiny bodies moving as one. They rise and fall, with the rhythm of the current, feeding on microscopic plants that bloom where the ice retreats. Their movement is hypnotic, a ballet of survival, unseen by the world above. When the whales open their mouths, they take in thousands of gallons of water, filtering it through plates of baleen that trap the krill. The sea seems to fold into itself around the feeding giants, every movement deliberate, every action balanced. They do not hunt, they harvest, taking what they need, leaving the rest to replenish. It is a cycle of grace, not greed. And in this silent dance, the ocean breathes once more above the surface. The world seems peaceful, but the Antarctic is never truly still. Far to the north, icebergs drift like floating cathedrals, their shapes carved by wind and tide. The sunlight glances off their faces, scattering rainbows into the mist, each one a fragment of glacier broken from the continent's heart, traveling slowly. Toward its end, the whales swim among them, their size dwarfed by these frozen giants. Yet their presence makes the scene alive. It is beauty and fragility combined, a reminder that even the strongest forces of nature are temporary. Every breath of wind, every wave, every spark of light has its time, and then fades into the next. The whales move with this understanding. They do not fight the current, they follow it. Their journey is not about conquest, but harmony. They are living proof that power, gentleness can exist together, that dominance is not the same as destruction in the distance. The voice of a calf rises high and uncertain, a young whale calling for its mother. The sound cuts through the water, pure and trembling. The mother answers, her tone low and steady, guiding the calf back through the rolling sea. She swims beneath it, her great body a wall of protection, her movements slow and careful every few minutes. She surfaces, letting the calf breathe beside her. Their spouts rise together, twin clouds, dissolving into air. This is love in its simplest form, not spoken, not shown, but lived through every motion. In this vast and merciless world, they move as one mother and child, against the immensity of the deep beneath them. Shadows shift schools of fish, scatter. A leopard seal glides silently through the dark, its sleek body built for speed, its eyes sharp with hunger. The ocean is beautiful, but it is never safe. Survival here demands balance, a truth written in every ripple of water. The whales dive again deeper than before, chasing the echoes of their ancestors through the blackness. They pass ancient ice walls carved like glass cathedrals, glowing with faint blue light. Their songs continue vibrating through the sea, binding each creature to the same rhythm. For them, the ocean is not a battlefield, but a temple. Every movement, every note, a prayer to the force that sustains them. The krill bloom thick this year, glowing faintly with bioluminescent light. It is as if the sea itself has swallowed the stars. The whales move through this glowing storm, and their outlines shimmer like ghosts in the deep. For a moment, it feels like another world, one where time does not exist, and life simply is above the surface. The wind begins to shift. The first hint of a storm. Dark clouds gather on the horizon. The sea turns restless. Waves rise and break against one another. The whales sense the change before it happens. Their songs change tone, a low, pulsing warning that ripples through the depths. The mother leads her calf toward calmer waters. But there is nowhere truly calm in the Antarctic. The wind roars across the open sea, and snow begins to fall. The flakes melt as they touch the water, creating a mist that blurs the line between sky and ocean. The storm grows. Wilder waves crash against the icebergs, sending shards of frozen spray into the air. Yet through the chaos, the whales continue to move, their bodies cutting through the waves with effortless strength, their rhythm unbroken while above them. The sky rages in fury. It is in moments like these that the true nature of life here reveals itself, not in peace but in persistence. Survival in the Antarctic is not about resisting the storm. It is about learning to move with it, to bend but never break. As the storm passes, the sea grows still again, a calm that feels like an exhale. The air is filled with mist and light. The whales rise to breathe, their bodies glistening under the returning sun, and in that silence the world feels reborn. The sea once more becomes a mirror, and the sky an endless canvas of color. The journey of the whales continues across thousands of miles, guided by the seasons and the stars. They are the travelers of the deep, the memory keepers of the ocean. For millions of years they have followed the same paths, carrying life across the world. And though we see them as distant and mysterious, their story is our story too. We breathe the air they shape. We depend on the balance. They maintain their presence, keeps the ocean alive. And the ocean keeps the planet alive. When the whales feed, they stir the sea floor, releasing nutrients that rise toward the surface, feeding the plankton that absorb the carbon from our air. Every dive, every song, every birth and death beneath these waves sustains the balance of life above them. The cycle is delicate, invisible, and absolute. If the whales disappear, the ocean will change. If the ocean changes, the world will follow. This is the truth, hidden beneath their beauty, a truth that humbles and warns, and yet fills the heart with awe. To witness a blue whale is to look into the face of eternity. They are proof that life can grow immense and gentle at once, that strength does not need violence, that endurance can be quiet. When the night comes and the stars return to the southern sky, The whales rest near the surface, their bodies drifting in silence. The auroras shimmer above them, ribbons of green and violet, dancing through the cold air. The reflection of the lights ripples across their backs, turning them into moving mirrors of the cosmos for a moment. The sea and the sky become one endless field of light and motion, a reminder that all life is connected from the deepest trench to the highest cloud. The earth moves in unison, one heartbeat shared among sign. All that lives, the whales breathe once more, their spouts glowing faintly under the aurora, then sink slowly into the deep, disappearing into darkness. Their songs echo long after they are gone, a haunting melody that lingers through the water, fading but never vanishing. Some scientists say the whales sing to communicate. Others believe they sing to navigate. But perhaps the truth is simpler. Perhaps they sing because they must, because to exist in this world of endless cold and endless wonder is to sing, to remind the universe that they are alive. And as their voices fade into the deep, the ice continues to crack, the wind continues to whisper, and life continues to endure, for the ocean never sleeps. It only breathes, and through it the heart of the world keeps beating. The first light of dawn spreads across the horizon like a whisper of gold melting into blue. After months of endless night, the sun finally rises above the Antarctic ice, and with it, the world begins to awaken. Shadows stretch long across frozen plains, glistening with shards of frost that sparkle like crushed diamonds. The air trembles with new warmth, though the temperature remains far below freezing. But here warmth is not measured in numbers, it is measured in motion, in the slow stirring of life that refuses to yield beneath the surface of the sea. The ice begins to crack, soft at first, like glass under pressure, then louder, as sheets of frozen water shatter apart, revealing the liquid world beneath. The ocean breathes again, releasing plumes of mist that dance in the light like ghosts returning to life. The sound echoes across the vast emptiness like thunder rolling through eternity. And from that darkness, creatures rise, seals burst through the thin ice, gasping as sunlight kisses their faces. For the first time in months, their sleek bodies shimmer with drops of silver water. They roll and twist and dive again, vanishing beneath the surface like dancers in a liquid sky around them. Penguins gather at the edge of the ice, their black and white bodies standing out sharply against the glowing horizon. They stare at the open sea as if seeing it for the first time. Then one takes a step and another, and soon dozens are sliding down the ice on their bellies, plunging into the waves with wild joy. The water embraces them. The cold means nothing. Now, after so long in darkness, every movement feels like flight. They dart through the waves, twisting and turning, chasing trails of krill that shimmer like living light. It is a celebration, not of survival, but of life itself. Above them, the sky burns with color. The low sun stretches across the clouds, painting them in orange and pink and violet. The air is filled with the sound of wings as seabirds return from the north, their cries cutting through the stillness like notes of music. The great albatross glides effortlessly over the water, its wings spanning wider than a man is tall. It does not flap, it does not struggle. It simply moves with the wind, trusting the invisible currents that circle the earth. The bird has traveled across oceans through storms and endless days. Now it returns to this sacred place to breed, to rest, to continue the cycle. It lands upon a rocky ledge where its mate waits. Their reunion is silent yet profound. Their heads touch. Gently, their eyes close. And for a moment, the world seems to hold its breath. This place where the land meets the sea is not just a battlefield of survival. It is also a cradle of connection. Every creature here knows its place. And every heartbeat is part of something larger. The krill swarm beneath the ice, glowing faintly with life. The whales feed far beyond the horizon. The penguins hunt with precision, each dive a perfect arc of instinct and necessity. Seals sleep upon the blank ice, their breathing slow and rhythmic, and above it all, the wind carries the scent of salt and snow and sunlight. The balance is delicate, but complete. For now, the first light brings movement to the glaciers, too. The great walls of ice shift and groan, the sound deep and resonant, like the heartbeat of the earth. Rivers of meltwater carve through the frozen surface, running down into hidden tunnels beneath the glaciers, where they join the ocean in secret streams. This melting is part of the rhythm, Earth's slow inhale and exhale each season, writing a new line in the story of ice and time. In these moments of thaw, life explodes. Microscopic plants bloom in the sun, painting the sea in swirls of green and gold. They feed the krill, who feed the fish, who feed the krill. Seals and whales and penguins, the chain of life that stretches from the smallest cell to the largest creature, begins anew. It is a dance choreographed by sunlight, powered by the tilt of the planet itself. Yet, even as this beauty unfolds, shadow lingers. The ice melts faster than it once did. The rivers run deeper, the cracks spread farther, the balance begins to tremble. But for now, the world continues, as it always has, pretending the changes are only temporary, pretending that time itself has not shifted. Beneath the surface of this awakening, a different kind of motion stirs deep within the ice. There are rivers and lakes sealed away from the sky, trapped beneath miles of frozen crust for millions of years, untouched by light, unknown to man. One of these places lies beneath 4 kilometers of solid ice, a hidden world called Lake Vostok. Its waters are older than history, its silence absolute. It is a world of eternal darkness, and yet perhaps not lifeless. Scientists believe that beneath that crushing pressure and frozen isolation, something may still move. Tiny organisms, perhaps, or entire ecosystems that have evolved in secret, adapting to conditions no other life could endure. If such creatures exist, they are proof of a truth that the surface world already knows, that life will always find a way to bloom, even where it should not. The light that now graces the surface is both a beginning and a memory. It touches everything that endures, from the smallest snowflake to the great mountains of ice. That tower like gods above the horizon, the peaks rise in shades of blue and white, sharp as blades against the sun. And as the day grows longer, the light deepens, shifting from gold to white to silver. The world glows as if lit from within a re. Silence falls once more. Not the silence of death, but of peace. The kind that comes after struggle, the kind that carries the memory of storms and the promise of calm. The penguins rest upon the ice, their chicks nestled against their bodies. The seals drift in the paris, water eyes closed. The whales far out at sea sing softly, their voices mingling with the crackling of ice and the whisper of wind. In this harmony there is purpose. Every creature contributes to the rhythm that keeps the planet alive. The krill purify the ocean. The whales stir the currents. The penguins balance the chain. The ice reflects the light, cooling the world beneath its brilliance. Everything here is part of a greater system, a masterpiece of balance, crafted over millions of years and sustained by the discipline of nature. Yet beyond this delicate dance, something stirs in the wind, a whisper from far away from the lands beyond the horizon where people live, surrounded by walls and warmth, where they have forgotten how the world truly breathes. They do not hear the song of the whales. They do not see the light shimmer on the ice. They do not know that every breath they take is tied to this distant place. But Antarctica knows the light, knows the wind carries the message, whether or not anyone listens for now. The sun climbs higher, the shadows shrink, the ocean sparkles with movement. Life bursts forth in every direction. The sea becomes a mirror of gold and silver. The birds wheel above it. The fish leap the waves, shimmer with color. The world feels infinite, timeless, untouched. It is easy to believe that it will always be this way, that the light will always return after the dark, that the balance will always hold yet deep within the ice. Another truth waits a reminder that even in beauty there is fragility, and in life there is always cost. The first light of dawn does not only reveal creation, it also reveals what can be lost. But for now, that knowledge sleeps buried under snow beneath the roar of melting rivers and the cries of returning birds. The creatures do not question the future. They live in the present. They move with the rhythm of the light. They breathe when the sun says, breathe, and sleep when the night commands it. And maybe that is the secret the world has forgotten to trust. The light, when it comes to endure, the dark, when it returns to move with the cycles of the earth instead of against them. The first light of Antarctica is not just a sunrise, it is a resurrection, a quiet promise that even when the world feels frozen and lifeless, the spark of existence waits beneath the surface, ready to rise again. It is a reminder to every heart that beats upon this planet, that after every winter there comes a dawn. After every silence there is song, after every shadow light returns. And with it, the courage to continue. The penguins stand at the edge of the ice once more, their bodies sleek from the sea, the chicks no longer gray but growing strong. They watch the sun climb higher, their cries echoing across the waves as if greeting the new day. And far beyond them, the whales breach their massive bodies, breaking through the water in arcs of strength and beauty. Their spouts rise into the air, catching the light and turning it into rainbows across the mist. It is as if the earth itself is applauding its own survival. The first light touches everything, the ice, the sea, the sky, and in that moment, all is connected and whole. The wild heart of Antarctica beats in rhythm with the sun. It has endured another night, and now it breathes again. The ocean stretches beyond imagination, a vast kingdom of blue that hides within it the greatest creatures ever to exist. As the light deepens across the Antarctic waters, the giants return, the blue whales. Ancient travelers of the deep come home to feed. The sea trembles around them as they move, their presence felt long before they are seen, a slow rhythm in the current, a shadow beneath the waves that grows and grows until it becomes a mountain of living flesh. The whale rises through the water, its body longer than 3 school buses, its skin a mosaic of gray and silver, scarred from battles and journeys, older than any human memory. It exhales with a sound that breaks the silence of the sea, a thunderous release of breath that sends a column of mist into the cold air. Then it inhales and dives again, disappearing into the depths where light cannot follow below the surface. The world is transformed. It is darker, quieter, the pressure immense, but the whales are at home here. They move with grace that defies their size. Their massive tails sweep through the water in slow, deliberate strokes, every movement perfect, every motion essential. They are born to the deep, to the cold, to the silence. Their hearts beat once every 10 seconds. Their blood carries more oxygen than any creature on land, allowing them to remain below for nearly an hour. They travel in small groups, mothers with calves, old bulls alone, wandering through the soundless corridors of the sea. The young stay close to their mothers, learning the ways of the deep, learning when to rise and when to rest. The mother's song is a vibration that passes through the water, low and steady, guiding the calf through the darkness. When danger approaches, her tone changes, becoming sharp, urgent. a language of survival, written not in words but in frequency. Predators lurk. Even here, orcas, sleek and brilliant, move through the currents in packs, hunting seals and smaller whales. They are masters of strategy, fast thinkers, coordinated killers, but the blue whale is too vast for them. It moves without fear. Its only threat, the world above, the one that hunts, not for survival but for profit. For centuries, the whales were pursued by ships that followed their songs through the fog. Men with harpoons and fire chased them across oceans until the sea turned red with their blood. Entire families were lost, their songs silenced one by one until only echoes remained. It was not hunger that drove the hunters, but greed, the desire for oil, for bone, for fame. The ocean grew quieter with each kill, its rhythm broken, its harmony lost, but the whales endured. Those that survived carried their songs into the new age, passing them down through generations, a legacy of endurance written in sound and memory. Now the world listens again. Scientists record their calls, mapping their journeys, studying their habits. Yet no human technology can truly understand what these giants know. The whale's mind is not one of conquest or ownership. It is one of connection. It knows the path of the stars, the temperature of the water, the pull of the moon. It knows where the krill will bloom before they rise. It knows the ancient routes that link all oceans together, routes that have existed since before the first city was. Built above them, the sunlight filters through the surface, turning the sea into a cathedral of moving light beams, shimmer across their backs as they feed, opening their mouths to engulf entire clouds of krill, then closing them to filter the water through long plates of baleen. Each movement is slow, deliberate, magnificent. In one gulp, a whale may consume 4 tons of food, yet the krill thrive, they reproduce. By the billions, their numbers endless, their existence essential, the relationship is perfect. The whale does not destroy the krill, it depends on them, and by feeding it helps to circulate the ocean, stirring nutrients from the depths into the light. This exchange, this balance sustains the entire Antarctic ecosystem. Every breath whale takes enriches. The air we breathe, every dive it makes, nurtures the sea itself. Without them, the ocean would stagnate, life would falter, and the planet would begin to fade. For the blue whale is more than an animal. It is an engineer of the earth, a guardian of the ocean's pulse above the waves. The world feels distant, but it is connected in ways unseen. When the whale surfaces to breathe, it exhales carbon dioxide into the air. But when it dies and sinks to the seafloor, its body becomes a world of its own, feeding thousands of creatures for decades. Even in death, the whale gives back to the ocean that gave it life. This cycle repeats through the centuries. The young whales born each summer growing strong beneath the southern sun, following their mothers into the deep, learning the songs that will one day guide them across oceans. Their voices join the chorus, a sound so vast and low it can travel across entire continents. It is a language of the planet itself, the melody of life, enduring the throat. Songs shift with the rodi bladegrand. Seasons in the summer, they are joyful, full of rhythm and light. In the winter, they become slower, deeper, echoing through the darkness like ancient prayers. No one knows exactly why they sing. Perhaps it is to attract a mate, perhaps to navigate, or to share information. But perhaps it is something more. Perhaps it is an act of remembrance, a way of keeping the world alive through sound. For in this silence, at the edge of the earth, even a single note can shape eternity. As the whales move closer to the ice, they pass beneath floating towers of frozen white. The icebergs cast shadows that ripple like ghostly mountains above them. The light refracts into impossible colors. Turquoise, sapphire, emerald, the sea seems to glow from within the whales. Swim through it slowly, their silhouettes shimmering against the glowing ice. Their size dwarfs everything else, yet they move with the gentleness of a whisper nearby. Smaller creatures follow pilot, fish, seals, even curious penguins darting through the water, as if drawn to the giants they cannot comprehend. It is a moment of harmony, a vision of balance between the great and the small, between the ancient and the new, between power and peace. In the stillness of the sea, the whale's heartbeat becomes the only sound, slow, powerful, steady. It is the sound of the earth itself beating beneath the weight of time. As day fades into night, the sky above transforms into a canvas of color. The aurora begins to dance, waves of green and violet rippling across the heavens, their light reflected in the water where the whales glide. It is as if the universe itself bends down to meet them. A meeting of two worlds, the cosmic and the terrestrial, one made of stars, the other of salt and breath. The whales rise to the water, surface again. Their spouts glow under the lights, and for a brief moment it looks as though the sky and sea are breathing together. Then silence returns, the waves calm, the aurora fades, and the whales disappear once more into the deep intumane. Their wake, the sea, remains alive, its rhythm steady, its balance restored. Their presence, unseen yet essential. Beneath the waves, life continues in the shadows. Krill swarm, fish dart, seals hunt and feed, and the great whales sing their endless song, a song not just of survival but of existence itself. They are the guardians of the ocean's heart, and in every pulse of their movement there is a message for the world above, a reminder that strength can be silent, that power can be gentle, that balance not dominance sustains the earth. As the night deepens, a mother and her calf drift side by side, their bodies moving as one. The calf's small voice rises a thin, trembling sound. The mother answers her tone, low and calm. Their communication continues for hours, a dialogue of love and trust that needs no words above them. The stars burn cold and distant, yet the sea glows faintly with life. From within, the krill shimmer, the plankton sparkle, and the water becomes a mirror of the heavens. The boundary between worlds disappears, and for a moment, it feels as if everything breathes in unison. The whales, the sea, the sky, the earth itself, one living organism, one unbroken harmony. This is the essence of the Antarctic, not silence, not emptiness, but the purest form of connection. Every creature, every current, every gust of wind, part of the same living song. And within that song, the blue whale stands as the bass note, deep and eternal, the foundation upon which all others rest. Its existence binds the ecosystem together, holding it steady through the chaos of time. Yet even as it moves with calm purpose, change creeps in the water, warms the ice, melts the krill, move farther south in search of cold. The balance trembles. The whales follow their food, traveling longer distances. Searching deeper each year, the songs grow fewer, quieter. The silence of the human world echoes into the ocean. The machines of progress hum above, while the giants fade below, and yet they continue to sing, not because it is easy, but because it is what they are. They sing to remember the light. They sing to keep the ocean awake. They sing so that the world might still hear itself through them, and in their song there is hope. For as long as the blue whale breathes, as long as its voice travels through the whirly water, the wild heart of the planet will continue to beat. It reminds us that no matter how vast the darkness becomes, there will always be a sound a vibration, a memory that refuses to disappear, a pulse that belongs to everything that lives, and everything that ever was. The ocean keeps its secrets, but through the whales it also speaks, and if we listen closely enough, we may still hear the truth that we are not separate from this world. We are a part of it, every breath, every step, every heartbeat, tied to the rhythm of the deep, and in that understanding there is peace, the kind that can only come from knowing that the world will go on not because of us but with us. If we choose to listen, the whales dive once more into the darkness. Their tails rise in slow arcs before vanishing beneath the waves, leaving only ripples that spread outward across the surface, circles of motion expanding forever until they fade into calm. Their journey continues, unseen, eternal like the tide, and somewhere far below, in the blue silence, their songs continue, a reminder to the sea and to the sky, and to us all, that life in its purest form is not noise or conquest, but harmony. The whales carry the memory of the planet within their blood, and as long as they move through the water, the earth will remember how to breathe. Beneath the frozen surface of the Southern Ocean, there exists a world that never sees the light of day, a realm of darkness and pressure, where time seems to stand still, and yet life thrives in ways almost unimaginable. The deeper one goes, the more alien the world becomes. The colors fade, the temperature drops, and the silence grows heavier, until all that remains is the pulse of the ocean itself, a faint vibration that hums through the black water like the heartbeat of the earth. This is where the true soul of Antarctica lies, hidden from sight, but alive in every sense beneath the crushing weight of the ice. The sea is alive with motion. Krill drift in endless clouds, glowing faintly with bioluminescence, their tiny bodies lighting the abyss like stars scattered across the night sky. Fish with translucent skin move silently through the water, their bodies adapted to the freezing dark, their blood infused with special proteins that prevent it from turning to ice. It is a miracle of evolution. An AMAD, orchestra of survival, playing in perfect harmony, in a place where no light should exist. Deeper, still strange creatures glide through the shadows, their shapes unlike anything found in warmer seas. Jellyfish with ribbons of light trailing behind them like comets, ghostly squids with eyes the size of fists and delicate tendrils that sway in slow hypnotic motion. Each one a fragment of a world that has existed for millions of years, untouched by the chaos above. They hunt, feed, they multiply. They would die their lives short, but essential to the cycle that sustains everything, from the smallest plankton to the largest whale. The ocean floor stretches far below a landscape of black sand ridges and valleys, sculpted by ancient glaciers. Hydrothermal vents rise from the cracks in the crust, spewing plumes of heat and minerals into the water. And around these vents, life gathers clusters of bacteria, tube worms, blind shrimp and pale, crabs thriving in the chemical soup, feeding on energy that comes not from the sun, but from the earth itself. This is a form of existence so different, so alien, that it challenges our very idea of what life means. It proves that warmth and light are not the only sources of creation, that even in the darkest corners of existence, the spark of life finds a way to burn. The deeper in the descent, the more the world above feels like a distant memory. Sunlight is replaced by bioluminescence, the language of the deep, where creatures speak in flashes of light and movement. A silent conversation that only they can understand. Some use light to lure their prey, others to find a mate. Others simply to exist in beauty. Every flicker, every pulse, every glow tells a story written not in sound or word, but in color and rhythm. Is here in this eternal darkness, that the balance of life begins. The krill feed on the phytoplankton that bloom in the brief summer light. Those krill in turn feed the fish, the seals, the penguins, and the whales. And when those creatures die, their bodies sink too, the depths becoming food for the scavengers below. And when the scavengers die, their remains feed the smallest microbes, completing a cycle that has continued for millions of years, unbroken, perfect. It is a web so intricate that a change in microbes completing cycle. One thread can unravel the entire tapestry, yet for eons it has held steady, its rhythm undisturbed by anything but the slow turning of the planet above. This vast hidden kingdom stretches for thousands of miles beneath the ice, and though the surface may seem barren, the truth is that the majority of Antarctic life exists here beneath, unseen and eternal. It is the hidden foundation of everything that moves in the light above. In the quiet of the deep, the whales sing their low, haunting songs, their voices vibrating through the water like an ancient hymn calling across the miles. The sound travels farther than any noise on Earth, echoing from one end of the ocean to the other. The whales do not see the deep, but their songs reach it, stirring the creatures that live there. Their sound mixes with the currents, with the hum of hydrothermal vents, with the shifting of the sea ice above, creating a symphony that only the planet itself can hear. This is the true language of the world, not words, but vibration, not music, but memory. A reminder that everything alive is connected by sound, by rhythm, by movement. It is a sacred truth written in the bones of the earth and in the waves of the sea above the ice. The first light of dawn may seem like the beginning of life, but down here in the darkness, life never stopped it, only hid, waiting for its moment to rise again when the sun returns and the surface world awakens. The deep ocean stirs too. The krill ascend toward the light, their glowing bodies forming great columns that reach upward like rivers of living fire. The whales follow their path, feeding on the bloom, while the fish rise to hunt in the shallows. The seals dive to chase them through the maze of ice tunnels, and the penguins plunge from the cliffs to join the feast for a brief time. All the world moves in harmony, from the bottom of the sea to the highest clouds. Everything breathes as one. It is in these moments that the pulse of the Antarctic becomes visible, that the invisible connections between all life reveal themselves in motion and light. The surface may seem to control the deep, but in truth, it is the deep that controls the surface. The temperature of the currents, the movement of nutrients, the balance of oxygen all begin here in the darkness, shaped by forces beyond human reach. The heartbeat of the ocean decides the fate of the land above. Yet for all its power, it remains fragile. A single change in temperature, a single disruption in current, can ripple outward, transforming everything it touches. Scientists study these depths with machines and cameras lowered through holes drilled in the ice, their lights cutting through the black, revealing glimpses of a world almost sacred. They see creatures that defy explanation. They record temperatures and movements, but what they truly find is wonder, for no amount of data can capture the feeling of standing at the edge of the unknown, staring into a place where life should not be. And yet, it humbles even the most learned mind, because it reminds them that the world does not need permission to create it, simply does. In the deep, there are also secrets that science has yet to uncover. Some believe that beneath the ice, there are lakes sealed away for millions of years, vast reservoirs of liquid water, warmed by geothermal heat and insulated by the thick ice above. One of these is Lake Vostok, a hidden ocean beneath an ocean stretching for hundreds of miles, untouched by sunlight or surface air. Scientists have drilled carefully into it, seeking answers to questions about life's beginnings and possibilities beyond Earth. What they found were traces of microbial DNA, tiny signatures of life that had survived in isolation for eons. A reminder that even here, life finds a way to endure. If life can exist beneath 4 kilometers of ice, it might also exist beneath the frozen crust of other worlds, like Europa or Enceladus moons, where oceans lie hidden beneath ice. The deep Antarctic, therefore, becomes not just a place of study, but a mirror for the universe, showing us that existence is never limited to what we see, that the conditions for life are written in the language of resilience, not comfort. It is a humbling realization that what happens here beneath the frozen sea might one day help us understand where we came from and where else life may exist. The deeper we look, the more we realize that the Antarctic is not a frontier of death, but of rebirth. It is the memory of the planet, the place where the oldest rhythms still play untouched by the noise of human civilization. When one listens closely to the deep, one can almost hear the earth breathing, the slow sigh of water moving through ice, the distant thunder of glaciers shifting, the faint song of a whale miles away, all blending into one continuous sound, the voice of the living world. In this silence, there is peace. The kind of peace that modern life has forgotten. The kind that comes not from absence but from connection. The knowledge that everything moves together, in balance. For those who have witnessed it, the deep changes them forever. To see light where there should be none. To find warmth where everything freezes is to understand that hope is not a luxury, but a law of nature. Every creature here obeys it, every current carries it, every breath echoes it. Even in the darkest place, there is always something alive, something enduring, something that refuses to give up. And maybe that is the greatest lesson of the deep, that survival is not about power or dominance. It is about adaptation, patience, persistence, and faith. The kind of faith that trusts that even when the world above grows cold and chaotic, there will always be life beneath, waiting to begin again. The deep is the soul of the Antarctic, and through it we glimpse the soul of the earth, a reminder that darkness is not the enemy but the foundation upon which light is built for. Without it, there would be no contrast, no growth, no meaning. As the currents shift and the krill ascend once more, the deep exhales, releasing its bounty to the world above. The whales feed, the penguins dance, the seals sing, and the ocean returns to its eternal rhythm, a cycle without beginning or end, only continuation, each generation living, dying, and giving rise to the next. The heartbeat never stops. It only changes tempo with the seasons. The deep is not silent. It speaks in the language of motion, and for those who can hear it, the message is clear. The wild heart of Antarctica does not beat in the blinding light of day, but in the eternal pulse of the darkness below. The sea opens like a mirror of steel, stretching endlessly toward the horizon beneath a sky of pale gray, the light soft and distant, as if the sun itself hesitates to shine in this place. Here in the heart of the Southern Ocean, the orcas move with silent authority. They are the hunters of the ice, the guardians of balanced creatures, so intelligent and precise that even the cold cannot slow their purpose. Their sleek, black and white bodies glide beneath the surface in perfect formation, their movements like a single thought shared across many minds. In this frozen world, they are the architects of strategy, the masters of survival. Their communication is not chaos but code. Each click, each whistle a message that travels farther than sight. Their voices bounce through the water, mapping the world around them, each sound returning with the shape of prey, the thickness of ice, the location of their kin. It is a symphony of awareness, a kind of sonar that transforms darkness into vision above the ice. The Wind howls across the frozen plains. The snow whirls in spirals. But below all is calm. The orcas move in the dim blue light like ghosts patrolling the kingdom. That no human can truly claim their world is one of fluid boundaries where ice shifts daily, where danger and opportunity live side by side, and yet nothing they do is random. Every hunt, every migration, every breath is guided by instinct. Honed through millennia, the pod moves together, 10 strong, led by a matriarch. Older than any memory, she carries in her mind the geography of the ocean, the patterns of the tides, the places where seals rest and penguins dive. She remembers which bays will freeze and which will remain open, which glaciers crumble and which stand firm. Her experience is a map written not in ink but in sound. Her pod follows her without question because she is not only the leader but the keeper of their wisdom. Her knowledge is their survival. She glides ahead, her dorsal fin slicing through the problek, water like a blade of obsidian. The others follow close behind the young at the center, protected by the larger bodies of the adults. When she clicks, once the pod listens, when she clicks twice, they scatter. When she falls silent, they know to rise to the surface to breathe together. The rhythm of their movement is ancient. It is the rhythm of life itself. Above them, the ice glimmers with faint sunlight. A lone seal lies sprawled across a flat sheet, its body sleek and heavy with fat, its eyes closed. Against the cold it does not know the danger beneath the surface. The orcas spread out, forming a half circle around the ice, each one taking a position without command. The matriarch gives a low pulse and they begin to move in sync. They swim forward fast, their bodies slicing through the current as one together. They create a wave that travels beneath the ice, rising up at the edge where the seal rests. The wave strikes with force, lifting the ice, and the seal topples into the water before it can react. The hunt ends in seconds. Quick, clean, efficient. There is no waste, no cruelty, only purpose. This is how they survive. This is how the balance of the Antarctic remains intact. The young watch and learn, their eyes wide with wonder. They mimic the movements later. Practicing in shallower waters, the matriarch watches them closely, her gaze soft, though her world is harsh. She knows that every skill learned today will one day mean life or death. Tomorrow, nearby, the air is filled with the sound of water. Breaking, a smaller pod joins from the distance, greeting the hunters with clicks and whistles, their tones bright, playful. The two pods circle each other before mingling, their calls overlap, weaving into a melody that fills the sea. It is not just communication, it is celebration. A reminder that life, even here, in the most unforgiving corner of the planet, still finds joy. The young orcas chase each other through the bubbles, leaping from the water in arcs that shimmer beneath the pale sun. Their bodies rise, high before crashing down, sending ripples across the surface, like laughter in the language of the ocean. This is how bonds are strengthened, through play, through trust, through connection. For the orca, family is not built on dominance, but on cooperation. Their strength is unity. They share food, they share care, they share wisdom. And when danger comes, they defend one another with ferocity unmatched in nature. No member of the pod is left behind. They live together, they die together. And in this loyalty there is something profoundly human, perhaps more human than humanity itself. As the light fades, the sea grows darker. The horizon blurs into mist and snow. But the orcas do not stop. They travel along the edge of the ice, searching for breathing holes where seals gather. The matriarch guides them through narrow channels where the ice presses close around them. Her body moves with perfect precision, avoiding jagged shards that could tear skin. The sound of cracking ice echoes above the ocean like distant thunder. The pressure of shifting glaciers creates deep booming tones that resonate through the water. A language of the earth itself. The orcas hear it, they understand it. They have lived with it since the beginning. Their world speaks in vibration and they listen with every part of their body. The deeper they swim, the more they feel the pulse of the planet beneath them. Every current, every wave, every tremor of the seafloor tells them something about the world above. They navigate by sound, by instinct, by trust, and as they move, they leave behind a trail of silence that stretches into the blackness. The storm above grows fierce. The sky burns with streaks of green and violet. As the aurora ignites across the heavens, the wind screams over the ice. The sea rises in rolling swells. But the orcas remain unshaken. They dive deep beneath the chaos. Their world below, calm, steady, certain the young nestle close to their mothers. Their small bodies pressing for warmth, the adults form a circle around them, their movements. Slow, deliberate, protective. Each time they surface for air, they break through the waves in unison, their breath exploding into white mist that glows beneath the lights of the aurora. It is a vision of beauty and power, the ocean breathing with the sky, the creatures of the deep touching the edge of the stars. When the storm finally fades, the world is still again. The orcas glide through a sea now covered in fragments of ice. The pieces drift like shattered glass reflecting the faint light of dawn. The quote, matriarch slows. She senses something ahead through the echoes in the water, a sound not of nature but of intrusion. The distant hum of engines, the vibration of machines moving through their world. The pod pauses uncertain, the noise grows, louder, cutting through their delicate network of sound, disorienting them. Their communication falters. The young cry out, confused, unable to hear the guiding clicks of their elders. The matriarch releases a sharp whistle, a call for silence. Pod gathers close. She listens. The noise fades as the ship passes far above them, leaving behind trails of oil and heat and the faint metallic scent that does not belong to this world. She leads her family away deeper into the quiet. Their song resumes low and measured like a heartbeat. Returning after fear, the sea heals itself slowly, the rhythm restored. But something lingers in the matriarch's mind, a knowledge that their world is changing, that the noise will come again, that one day it will not pass harmlessly by. And so, she leads them farther south, into colder waters untouched by ships where the ice is thicker and the air more pure. Here they hunt again. They feed. They teach. They sing their lives, returning to the old rhythm, the one that has kept them alive. Since the beginning, the young grow stronger, their bodies sleek, their movements confident. They learn to hunt seals, to chase fish through the cracks of the ice, to navigate by sound alone when they leap through the waves. Their calls echo across the sea like laughter, and for a time, the world feels whole again. The orcas are not the monsters of legend, they are the balance keepers, the protectors of the frozen realm. They maintain the cycle of life that allows the whales to feed the penguins to thrive and the seals to endure. They are the guardians of order in a world that should be chaos. Their intelligence rivals that of any human, their hearts bound by emotion, their world built upon cooperation. They know love, they know loss, know memory, and their songs are filled with both. In the deep of the night, the pod gathers together, their bodies close, their voices rising in harmony. The sound travels through the water, through the ice, through the very bones of the earth. It is a song of remembrance for those lost, a song of gratitude for the life that remains, and a promise for the generations yet to come. It says, "We endure, we adapt, we belong in this frozen world." The orcas are the eternal witnesses to change. They have seen, The ice grow and retreat the being. Stars shift, the tides turn. They have lived through epochs of fire and frost, and still they remain a symbol of resilience and grace, and perhaps that is their greatest gift. Not the hunt, not the intelligence, but the endurance to live in a place where everything changes, yet to never lose the rhythm that defines existence. As dawn approaches, the first light touches the sea. The ice glows pale blue, the water stills, and the pod rises together, their fins breaking the surface in perfect unison. They breathe as one, the mist from their lungs rising into the air, merging with the light of the morning sun. And for a fleeting moment, it feels as if the entire planet breathes with them. In that breath, there is balance, there is peace, truth. The orcas turn and vanish beneath the waves, their bodies disappearing into the dark, leaving behind only the faint echo of their song, a sound that drifts through the ocean like memory, whispering to the world that the wild heart of Antarctica still beats, strong within them, within the sea, within everything that lives. Beneath the pale light of the Antarctic dawn, a quiet transformation begins. The vast ocean that only moments ago mirrored the sky now shifts, with a pulse that can be felt deep within its depths. This is the time of abundance, when the frozen heart of the planet begins to beat faster, and the smallest creatures in creation rise from the dark to feed the world in this season. The krill return, billions upon billions of tiny translucent bodies drifting through the icy water like dust caught in sunlight. They move together in clouds, so immense that satellites in orbit can see their faint shimmer. They are no larger than a fingernail, yet they sustain life on a scale beyond imagination, from the smallest fish to the greatest whale. Every living fish thing in the Southern Ocean depends on them. They are the pulse of the sea, the foundation upon which the entire Antarctic ecosystem is built. When the sun climbs higher above the horizon, the ocean begins to bloom. Microscopic plants called phytoplankton awaken. After their long sleep through the endless winter, they capture the sunlight that filters through the water, turning it into life. And from their feast, the krill are born again. They feed on these drifting gardens, multiplying in staggering numbers. Until the water itself seems alive, the krill gather into great swarms, so dense that they can turn the color of the sea from blue to red. They rise and fall with the rhythm of the current, their bodies glowing faintly with bioluminescence. When the light fades at night, the ocean glows with their movement. It is as if the stars have fallen into the sea, a spectacle few will ever see, but one that sustains the world above. In this delicate balance, the krill are both humble and mighty. They are the unseen architects of survival. Their life is short, measured in seasons, not years yet. In that brief time, they perform miracles. They feed the fish that feed the seals, that feed the whales. They are eaten by penguins, by birds, by everything that moves within these waters. And when they die, they sink, carrying carbon from the surface to the ocean floor, storing it away for centuries. Without them, the air we breathe would be different. The temperature of the world would shift, the very balance of the earth would begin to change. All of this. From a creature that can fit upon the palm of a hand, the whales have returned, now drawn by the promise of the krill. They rise from the depths like ancient gods, moving slowly through the shimmering currents. Each mouth opens to consume thousands of gallons of water at once, filtering out the tiny creatures through sheets of baleen. The krill vanish in waves into their bellies, becoming part of the endless chain of life that has endured since time began. The penguins join the feast, diving and darting between the waves, their sleek bodies flashing in the sunlight as they chase the krill. In perfect precision, seals slide through the same waters, their movements fluid and effortless, their dark eyes fixed on blank The same prize even. The seabirds above join the hunt, diving from the air into the water like falling arrows. The krill are everywhere, and yet never enough. For every meal taken, 1,000 more are born. The cycle repeats endlessly until it seems that the ocean itself is breathing through them. But the world is changing. The ice melts faster than before, and the balance trembles. Each year, the temperature of the Southern Ocean rises a fraction, and that fraction means everything for the krill who depend on the edge of the frost ice for their young to survive. They lay their eggs in the shadow of glaciers beneath sheets of frozen water where the temperature is just right. If the ice disappears, so too does their nursery without the ice. The phytoplankton do not bloom, and without them the krill cannot feed there. Numbers fall silently and visibly, and with them fall the whales, the penguins, the seals. The entire symphony of the Antarctic begins to lose its rhythm. Scientists have seen it coming for decades. They watch the data rise. On their screens, graphs that tell stories of melting ice and warming seas. Yet graphs cannot capture the truth that lives beneath the surface. The truth that life itself is tied to these tiny creatures that float in the cold. Their fragility is the fragility of the planet itself. The ships that cross these waters now are not only explorers, they are harvesters. Nets, as wide as city blocks, sink into the sea, gathering millions of krill in a single sweep, their bodies ground into meal for fish farms, for supplements for industry. The ocean gives endlessly, and yet it is not infinite. The balance built over millions of years can crumble in decades. And when it does, it will not be with thunder or fire, but with silence, the silence of an empty sea. Where once there was song, the whales depend on the krill, but they also shape them. Their feeding stirs the water, bringing nutrients from the deep to the surface, allowing new life to grow. It is a perfect system, a living machine that runs on harmony, not conquest. The whales feed the ocean as much as they feed upon it. This is what the human world forgets in its hunger for more. The sea is not a factory, it is a heart, every part of it working to keep the rest alive. When one part fails, the rest falters. In the pale blue light, the krill continue to drift. Unaware of the fate that surrounds them, they move as they always have, guided by instinct, drawn to the warmth of the sun and the pull of the current. They are not warriors nor victims. They are purpose itself. They are the quiet proof that strength lies not in size, but in connection, in their unity. They sustain the greatest life on Earth. In their simplicity, they hold the power to balance the entire planet. Each movement of their tiny bodies ripples across time, shaping the air, the water. The world above the whales breach again, their massive bodies rising from the sea, sending cascades of water into the air. The sound echoes across the ocean, a deep thunder that reverberates through ice and wind, a reminder of the power that flows through this cycle and the beauty that will be lost if it breaks. Penguins leap from the waves, their calls sharp and bright, their colonies echoing across the cliffs, as if cheering. The dawn seals lie sprawled across floating ice, basking in the rare sunlight, while beneath them the krill swarm like clouds of light, feeding the entire chain of existence. And through it all, the ocean moves slow, steady, eternal, each wave carrying the memory of the life it sustains. From the smallest plankton to the largest whale, from the frozen poles to the warmest seas, everything is connected through this unseen thread. This is the truth of the Antarctic, that the smallest life form is the most powerful, that survival depends not on strength but on balance. The krill are not merely food, they are the architects of equilibrium. They maintain the carbon that the air cannot hold. They shape the temperature of the seas. They ensure that the blue whales can sing and that The penguins can raise their young. They are the unseen guardians of the planet. Yet they ask for nothing. They give without demand. They exist in perfect harmony with their world. And in that they are more noble than any creature that walks on land as the day stretches toward its endless twilight. The ocean turns to silver, the light fading into mist. The krill continue their dance through the water, their swarms shifting and folding like clouds. Each movement synchronized each purpose, shared the whales follow their path, diving deep, then rising again to breathe. The penguins chase their glimmer, the seals hunt their trail, and the world spins on its ancient rhythm. It is a fragile rhythm, one that humanity has barely begun to understand, a melody played by creatures too small to see, yet powerful enough to shape the course of life itself. If they fall, the silence will echo far beyond the Antarctic. It will reach the shores of every continent. The air will grow heavier, the sea will lose its breath, the forests will change their color, and the earth will remember what happens when balance is broken in this moment. Though all is still right, the sea glows, the ice hums, the krill drift in endless motion, and the world breathes with them, their lives brief, but beautiful, their purpose endless. They are the heartbeat beneath the ice, the pulse that connects all life to the ocean, and the ocean to the sky above. When the whales sing their song, travels through the water, and finds the krill, and the krill respond, not with sound, but with motion, their swarms shifting like ripples of light. The sea becomes an instrument, each creature a note in the grand symphony of creation. It is a music that has no beginning and no end, and in that harmony there is truth. Everything in this world depends on everything else. There is no small, no great, no weak, no powerful. There is only life bound together in an unbroken chain. As the night falls again across the Antarctic, the krill sink deeper into the dark, their bodies glowing softly, with the light of their own making, and for a moment, the ocean becomes a galaxy of stars. The same stars that shine above the ice, the same stars that once watched the first life rise from the sea, and will one day watch the last in that infinite reflection. One can see the face of the world itself, fragile, radiant, eternal. And in that silent glow, the wild heart of Antarctica continues to beat, carrying within it the promise that even in the coldest, most desolate corners of existence, life will always find a way to endure. Night returns to the Antarctic with a whisper, the kind that carries across the endless plains of ice and echoes through the stillness like a memory. The light fades from the sky, and the world becomes a canvas of blue and silver shadows. Beneath that quiet surface, life continues. Unbroken, the krill drift deep into the water, glowing faintly like embers beneath glass, while the whales descend into the dark, their massive hearts slowing with each breath. The seals sleep on the frost floating ice, their sides rising and falling in rhythm with the waves, and high above them in the freezing air, the seabirds circle their wings, cutting the wind like white blades. These are the guardians of the sky, the wanderers of the storm, the messengers that connect the ocean to the heavens. They are the most tireless travelers on earth, the ones who see what no other creature can see and endure what no human could survive. Their world is the air, their home is the horizon. The first light of morning finds them already awake, their wings outstretched, gliding effortlessly on the Antarctic wind. The albatross, with its wings that span wider than a man's height, floats above the sea with a grace that seems eternal. It does not fight the wind. It becomes part of it, moving in long, sweeping arcs across thousands of miles. It may circle the entire Earth without ever landing, sleeping as it flies, resting on the breath of storms that would tear ships apart. The albatross is the soul of freedom. It lives without borders, without walls. Its life is a journey without end, and yet even in its endless flight, it carries love within its wings. For when it returns to land, it comes to the same mate, the same nest, built among the rocks. Year after year, their reunion is a quiet ritual. Two birds touching beak to beak. No sound, no song, just recognition, pure and ancient. A bond that survives the distance of oceans and the passing of time. This is how the wild endures, through loyalty, through memory, through the pull of plan. Something larger than survival around them. Other birds rise into the wind, the petrels, the terns, the squaws, each adapted to a life at the edge of the impossible. They ride the currents with effortless precision, their bodies built for endurance, not comfort. They are hunters and scavengers, navigators and poets of the sky. They see the world from above the ice and the waves, and in their flight there is a truth that few will ever know. That freedom is not the absence of struggle, but the mastery of it. The storms that would break, others are the wings that carry them higher. When the wind howls, they do not hide. They rise into it, bending, but never breaking, because they understand what the land creatures do. Not that strength lies in surrendering to the rhythm of nature, not in defying it. When the blizzards come and the world disappears beneath a wall of snow, they continue to move their white feathers, blending with the storm until they seem to vanish into it, becoming one with the chaos below them. The sea roars the waves, crash against the icebergs in fountains of frozen spray. The world trembles with power. But above it all, the birds glide untouched, their wings barely moving, their eyes sharp and calm. They see the patterns in the storm. They see the hidden paths through the wind where no turbulence can reach. They are not lost. They are home for them. The sky is not a place of danger. It is a realm of infinite paths. Each gust of wind, a doorway, each current, a song in the endless circle of life. They are both the watchers and the wanderers. When the sun returns, breaking through the clouds, the birds descend to feed the sea beneath them, alive once more with movement. Penguins leap through the waves, their bodies shining like obsidian seals rise to breathe, their dark heads glistening with droplets of ice. Fish scatter like shards of light, and above them the birds dive slicing through the air into the sea, their wings folding into spears, their bodies entering the water without sound. They vanish into the depths for the moment, and then burst upward again, carrying fish in their beaks, droplets of salt water, catching the sunlight as they rise. The world is alive in that moment. Each creature, bound by the same hunger, the same purpose, to live, to feed, to continue. The cycle of survival on the cliffs that rise from the frozen coast. The colonies gather thousands upon thousands of birds covering the rock in waves of white and gray. Their cries fill the air, a cacophony that echoes for miles, the smell of salt and life heavy. In the wind, eggs lie hidden in the nests. The parents take turns guarding them against the cold, against predators, against the storm that could come at any moment. They balance on narrow ledges, wings spread wide to block the snow their eyes, always watching the sky for squaws, the raiders who steal eggs and chicks with ruthless precision. Yet even this struggle is part of the balance. The predator must eat, the scavenger must live. Every death feeds another life the system holds. Steady, perfect, in its brutality. The chicks that survive grow quickly, their feathers soft, their movements clumsy. They flap their tiny wings against the wind, learning what it means to be a creature of the sky. Their first flight is a leap of faith, a moment where instinct meets fear. They spread their wings, and the air catches them, lifting them upward. and for the first time they feel what it means to belong to the wind. Once they rise, they will never return to the land, except to breed. They will live their lives in motion, sleeping on the water, feeding on the waves, chasing the horizon, until they too return to this place to begin again. In the distance, the albatross flies higher, its wings cutting through the thin air above the storm, its shadow gliding across. The waves below, where whales breach and seals dive. It has seen the entire world from pole to pole. It has witnessed the migrations of whales, the births of storms, the shifting of continents. Its eyes carry the reflection of eternity, and yet it is fragile. One bird, among billions, its fate tied to the same ocean that sustains all life. The plastic drifting on the waves, the oil spilled by distant ships, the warming winds that change the currents, all threaten its path, but still it flies, because flight is not just its survival, it is its identity, the act of being alive in a world that tries to fall apart. It trusts the sky as others trust the ground. Its wings, the only certainty in a world of change to watch it, is to see the purest expression of freedom. The daughter's perfect balance between grace and endurance. As day fades again, the light stretches across the sea. The ice glows with gold and silver. The wind softens the birds, return to the cliffs, their wings folding against their sides. The colonies settle into a soft chorus, the sound of feathers rustling like rain. The sky burns with color, pink and orange, fading into violet, and beneath it, all the ocean reflects the fire of the heavens, as if holding the light close for one last moment, before surrendering to night. In that quiet, the birds rest their heads, tucked beneath their wings, their hearts still beating to the rhythm of the sea. They are creatures of motion, yet they too understand stillness, for in stillness there is renewal, the calm before the next flight, the pause before the next storm, and as they sleep, the ocean continues to move. The ice shifts, the whales sing below, the krill drift, the penguins huddle, the seals breathe, and above it all, the stars return, their light shining across the frozen plains, reflecting in the eyes of those who remain awake, watching, guarding, listening in this endless cycle of life. The seabirds are the voice of persistence. Their wings, the bridge between worlds, between ocean and sky, between chaos and peace. They remind the world that endurance is not just about surviving, but about continuing to move forward. Even when the wind turns cold and the world grows dark, they are proof that beauty can exist in hardship, that flight can emerge from struggle, and that freedom is not the absence of limits, but the courage to move within them. When the dawn comes again and the wind rises once more, they will take to the air, their cries filling the sky, their wings opening wide as they ascend above the sea, following the invisible paths carved by their ancestors, guided by the sun, by the stars, by the pulse of the earth itself. Their flight eternal, their purpose unending, and somewhere deep within the rhythm of their motion, within the sound of their wings, beating against the prosant wind, one can hear the same message that echoes through every living thing in the Antarctic. The same truth, whispered by the whales, the penguins, the krill, and the seals, that life endures, not because it is easy, but because it is necessary, that even in the harshest places on Earth, there is always something that chooses to rise. The wild heart of Antarctica beats not only in the depths of the sea or beneath the ice, but also in the open sky, where wings stretch toward infinity, and remind the world that to live is to move, to breathe, to believe, and to never stop reaching for the light. The wind moves across the vast white expanse like an invisible tide, shaping the ice, sculpting mountains and valleys that stretch as far as the eye can see. This is the heart of Antarctica, the place where silence speaks louder than thunder, and every breath feels like an intrusion upon eternity. The sun hovers low upon the horizon, a pale disk that never truly sets and never truly rises. It moves in slow circles, casting long shadows that stretch endlessly across the frozen world. The ice reflects the light like glass, glowing in shades of gold and silver. The air so cold that sound itself feels brittle. The landscape is alive. Though it appears still, the glaciers creak and shift beneath their own weight, moving inch by inch toward the sea. Their slow movement, unstoppable, carving deep scars into the earth. Each crack a whisper of time, every fracture a mark of memory beneath the surface. Rivers of meltwater flow like hidden veins, carrying secrets from one age to another. This land remembers everything: the rise and fall of oceans, the birth and death of continents. The first breath of wind that ever blew across the planet. To stand here is to stand at the edge of the beginning and the end of all things. This is not a place of comfort. It is a place of truth, the kind that strips away illusion, leaving only what is pure and enduring here. Life survives by instinct and grace, not by force. Or will the penguins gather once more upon the frozen plain, their colonies stretching across? The ice like dark shadows against the white. They stand shoulder to shoulder, their voices echoing into the open air. Each call a thread that binds the living to the living. The young have grown now, their soft gray feathers replaced by sleek black and white. Coats their eyes bright with curiosity. They waddle toward the edge of the ice, looking out upon the sea that has called to them since birth. It is time for their first journey, time to leave the safety of the colony and face the vastness of the world they leap from, to the edge, into the freezing water, their bodies cutting through the waves with a grace that seems almost impossible for creatures so small. Their first dive is clumsy, but instinct guides them, and soon they move as if they have always belonged. To the sea beneath them, the water teems with life, the krill shimmering like clouds of silver, the fish darting through the light that filters from above. They chase, they hunt, they feed, they learn the rhythm of the ocean, the pulse of the planet itself for the reed. The first time they understand that the world is not static. It moves, it breathes, it demands their courage and rewards their persistence. As they swim farther, the sea opens around them, vast and infinite. The horizon disappears, and they are surrounded by nothing but motion. The sky, the sea, the ice, all blending into one endless expanse of color and sound. They are not afraid, they are alive. Every movement, a declaration of existence. Every breath, a prayer, whispered into the cold. Above them, the wind carries the cries of seabirds circling high, their wings slicing through the air like blades of light. The albatross glides effortlessly, its long wings catching the invisible rivers of air that flow across the ocean. It has seen these penguins before. Countless generations of them, each new life, a continuation of the old. It watches them now with the quiet patience of eternity. The sea changes. As the days pass, the light grows sharper, the winds colder, the ice begins to form again, sealing the edges of the ocean. The whales have begun their migration, moving north to warmer waters. Their songs echo across the deep, haunting, beautiful, eternal. The orcas follow the seals, retreat to their shelters, and the krill sink once more into the dark. The great cycle of the Antarctic begins its descent into winter. The penguins, too, return to land, gathering upon the ice that now thickens beneath their feet. They huddle together in circles, their bodies pressed close against the wind. The darkness lengthens. Each day, the sun dips lower, the night grows longer, and the stars return in their millions, covering the sky in a tapestry of light, so bright that it seems to shimmer upon the ice. The aurora dances above them, waves of green and violet moving across. heavens like the breath of ghosts. It is a sight beyond comprehension, beauty born from the union of fire and cold light and shadow life and silence. The penguins sleep beneath that glowing sky, their bodies swaying gently in the wind, their place, breaths rising like smoke, their dreams perhaps filled with the ocean that waits for them beneath the ice in the distance. The glaciers groan like living things, their voices deep and sorrowful, echoing through the valleys. It is the sound of movement, the sound of the planet reshaping itself. Every inch of ice carries the weight of time frozen within it, ancient air trapped for millions of years waiting for release. Each bubble a memory of worlds that no longer exist in that frozen record. The story of Earth is written, the story of change, of adaptation, of survival, for nothing in this world remains still, not even the ice. As the long night settles upon the continent, the cold deepens to a point beyond measure. Yet even here life endures beneath the ice. The krill continue to drift, feeding on microscopic life that thrives in the dark. The seals dive through narrow holes, breathing between layers of frozen sea. The whales, now far away, still sing their songs that travel through the water like the voice of memory calling home. And, above it all, the stars shine their cold light across the world, connecting the living to the infinite. When dawn finally comes, it does not burst. It returns slowly, gently, like a promise, kept. The first rays of sunlight touch the horizon. The ice responds with a glow that spreads across the plain. The penguins awaken, stretching their wings, shaking the frost from their feathers. They call out to one another, their voices rising together in a chorus that echoes for miles. It is not just the sound of life. It is the sound of defiance against the cold, against the dark, against the silence that seeks to swallow the world. The wind carries their calls across the frozen sea, and the light grows stronger. It touches the mountains, the glaciers, the cliffs, and finally, the open water, where the ice begins to break apart once more. The ocean stirs awake and breathes. The circle begins again. The whales will return, the krill will bloom, the seals will hunt, the birds will fly, and the penguins will dive. This is the truth of Antarctica. There is no end. There is only continuation, each moment, giving birth to the next, each life feeding another in an endless rhythm of death and renewal. It is not a tragedy. It is harmony, pure and unbroken. The kind of death, harmony that humanity once knew but has long forgotten. For in the human world, balance has become sacrifice, progress has become consumption, and the voice of nature has grown faint. Yet here upon the ice, the message remains clear. Survival is not about power or conquest. It is about connection. Everything here lives not for itself but for the whole. The smallest creature sustains the largest. The coldest place on Earth gives warmth to the rest of the planet, and the harshest conditions create the most enduring forms of life. It is a lesson written in wind and water, in ice and light. A lesson that the world must remember, for when the balance of the Antarctic is lost, so too is the balance of the Earth itself. The penguins do not know this. They do not need to. They live by instinct, by rhythm, by the simple truth that to exist is to belong. They do not question the meaning of their journey. They simply take it because it is theirs to take. And perhaps that is the greatest wisdom of all, to live without fear, to move, without resistance, to give, without expectation, to exist within the pattern rather than above it. As the sun climbs higher, the ice sparkles like diamonds. The air filled with light, the ocean stretches out blue and vast and alive. It is beautiful in a way that cannot be captured or contained. It is beauty born of endurance, born of struggle, born of the endless cycle that binds all things together. The penguins stand at the edge of the sea once more, their feathers shining in the light. A world before them, endless and full of promise, they leap again into the water without hesitation, without doubt, without fear. And as they vanish beneath the waves, their movement becomes part of the great story written across the ice, the story that has no end, the forwak, story that began before time and will continue long after the last voice of man has faded into the wind. For as long as the ocean breathes, as long as the ice glows, as long as the wind carries its eternal song, the wild heart of Antarctica will keep beating, reminding the universe that even in the coldest, most desolate corners of existence, life will always find a way to rise, to move, to endure, to belong. And in that heartbeat there lies the echo of everything that has ever lived, and everything that ever will. The sea has calmed, the storms have passed, and in their wake, a silence falls across the endless ice. A silence that feels alive, breathing with the rhythm of the wind and the slow creak of glaciers. This is the moment between seasons, a fragile pause, where the world seems to hold its breath. The sun lingers low, painting the sky in hues of amber and blue. Its light dances across the surface of the water, turning every ripple into a spark of gold. The air is sharp, yet filled with a pleasant, strange softness, as if the cold itself has grown tired of its own severity. In this stillness, the ocean begins to tell its story, a story not of endings, but of continuations. For here in the Antarctic there is no true end, only transformation beneath the calm. Surface life moves unseen. The krill drift in glittering clouds, their translucent bodies pulsing with faint light. They feed on the last remnants of plankton clinging to the returning rays of sunlight, each one a tiny spark in a vast network of existence above them. The prosoples, penguins dive again, the young now strong and agile, cutting through the water like living arrows, their bodies sleek, their instincts sharp. They move together in groups, swirling around one another in perfect rhythm. The sea accepts them without resistance, the salt and current shaping their movement. As if guiding them through an ancient dance, they chase the krill with playful hunger, their cries echoing faintly above the waves. And in those cries, there is something that sounds like laughter. It is a sound that belongs to life itself. The whales, too, have returned, drawn once more by the pulse of the sea. Their massive shapes glide beneath the surface, slow, deliberate, powerful. Their voices rumble through the deep, resonating across miles. Their songs are long and mournful, yet filled with peace. Each note carries a memory of distant waters, a call to others. Scattered across the horizon, they move not as individuals, but as echoes of one another, connected through sound, through the shared memory of migration. When they surface, their breath explodes into the cold air, rising like clouds, before dissolving into mist for a brief moment. The ocean and the sky merge into one, and everything feels infinite. The albatross returns to the wind, its wings stretched wide. As it glides above the waves, it has traveled thousands of miles since it last saw this place. Yet the path home is etched within its very being. The wind carries it, effortlessly guiding it back to the cliffs where its mate waits together. They settle upon the rocks, their feathers touched by the fading light, their reunion silent but profound. In that stillness, one can sense the weight of devotion, the kind that transcends distance and time for them. The journey is not about reaching a destination, but about returning to a promise made long ago to fly together again. Above the same endless sea, the seals rest upon the ice, their bodies heavy with the fullness of recent hunts. They lie sprawled in the pale light, content their movements, slow and drowsy, their eyes half closed. Some drift into the water to cool their skin, surfacing occasionally with gentle snorts, their whiskers glistening with droplets that catch the sun. Their peace is deceptive, for beneath the ice predators still move the orcas, ever patient, ever cunning, their black and white forms cutting through the cold depths like shadows of purpose. They communicate in clicks and whistles, their voices sharp, their strategy perfect. They are hunters, yet they are also caretakers of balance, taking only what the sea allows, never more, never less. They move with the precision of memory, each hunt a lesson passed through generations, an art perfected over time. Above them the sky changes, the first stars begin to appear, faint at first, then brighter, until the heavens ignite with a million points of light. The aurora returns, sweeping across the darkness in waves of green and violet. It dances above the ice, twisting and folding like silk in the wind. Its reflection ripples upon the Prussian sea, turning the world into a dream. The penguins pause to watch, their heads tilted upward, their bodies still beneath that shifting light. The world seems sacred, every sound, every movement slowed to a breath beneath the aurora. It is as if time itself stands still, the earth listening to its own heartbeat. Scientists, stationed upon the frozen plains, step outside their shelters, gazing at the sky, their faces lit by the glow. They too fall silent in the presence of this beauty, for in the vastness of Antarctica, the boundaries between humanity and nature blur, the cold strips away everything unnecessary, leaving only awe. In moments like this, there is no separation, only belonging. The same wind that moves through their hair moves through the feathers of the albatross. The same light that warms their skin glows upon the back of the whale. They are all part of one endless living system, bound together by the rhythm of the planet itself. And yet that rhythm is beginning to falter, in small ways unseen. The signs are there. The ice melts faster. The winds shift. The patterns of migration begin to change. The krill move farther south, chasing colder water. The balance, delicate and ancient, trembles. The scientists record their data, measure their all samples, and know what it means. They know that what happens here does not stay here, that the heart of the earth beats in this frozen place. And if it slows, the rest of the world will feel it. Yet, even with that knowledge, there is hope, for the world has endured many changes before, and each time life has adapted, found a way to continue. The penguins will move their colonies, the whales will adjust their paths, the krill will bloom in new waters. Life will not stop, it will only evolve. The ice has melted before and returned before. The earth remembers how to heal. What it needs is time and space to breathe. What it needs is understanding from those who walk upon its surface. As the night deepens, the ocean begins to freeze again, thin. Layers of ice forming like glass over the water. They spread slowly, delicate at first, then solid. And sure, the penguins gather closer, their bodies pressed together, their warmth shared. The whales move farther out, their voices echoing softer. Now the albatross takes flight once more, gliding beneath the stars, disappearing into the dark. The seals curl upon the ice, their eyes closing as the snow begins to fall. The flakes drift downward, light as whispers settling across the world, like a veil of peace in whispers that silence the earth seems to sigh, its breath spreading across the frozen land. The aurora fades, the stars grow brighter, and all becomes still beneath the stillness. However, the pulse remains, the hidden motion beneath the ice, the slow churn of the deep, heartbeat that never ceases. It is the rhythm of continuation, the rhythm that has carried this planet through fire and ice, through chaos and calm, through creation and extinction. It is the sound of endurance itself as dawn approaches again. The light returns, faint at first, then stronger, touching the peaks of the glaciers, turning them to gold. The wind rises, carrying with it the scent of salt and life. The penguins stir, the seals wake, the whales turn north, the world begins its slow awakening once more, and everything moves together in perfect harmony. It is a cycle so vast and complete that it feels eternal, yet within that eternity, every moment matters. Every breath, every movement, every choice, every heartbeat, from the smallest krill to the mightiest whale, from the wind that shapes the snow to the human standing upon the ice, taking a single step. Everything is connected. Everything has meaning. This is the lesson of the Antarctic, that no life stands alone, that strength is found not in domination but in balance, not in conquest, but in coexistence. The ice, the ocean, the creatures, the sky, all part of one living body, moving together through time to harm. One part is to wound the whole and to protect. One part is to heal the rest. Antarctic teaches patience, endurance, humility. It is a place where survival is an act of faith, and cooperation is the only path forward. It shows the truth of existence, stripped of noise and vanity, that to live is not to control, but to belong. As the light grows the place that teeters, penguins begin their march across the plain, the wind at their backs, their movements steady, their purpose clear. They march not because they must, but because it is what they were born to do. Their journey will take them far across the frozen desert to the nesting grounds where new life will begin again. And as they move, the world moves with them. The ice groans, the sky brightens, the sea breathes, and far below the deep sings softly to itself. It is the same song that has played since the beginning of time, a melody of cycles and rebirth, a song that reminds all who hear it that life is not fragile. It is persistent, it endures, it adapts, it finds a way to rise, even from the coldest darkness, even from the deepest silence, as the penguins fade. Into the distance, the blanks landscape glows in the rising light, the air shimmering with frost, the sky a perfect blue. It is not an ending, it is another beginning, the promise that no matter how the world changes, the heart of life will continue to beat the wild heart of Antarctica will never truly be silent. It will echo through the ice, through the water, through the sky, through the breath of every creature that lives upon this planet, reminding us all that as long as there is life, there is hope, and as long as there is hope, there is a future waiting to be born. The light returns to Antarctica like a slow awakening, the kind that takes its time, stretching across the horizon with quiet grace. After the long night, the first rays of the sun pour over the frozen mountains, melting into the sea in ribbons of gold and white. The air shimmers, as if the entire continent exhales a sigh of relief. The ice reflects the dawn in blinding brilliance, each peak glowing like a torch lit by the hand of the earth. The world stirs, the silence breaks, and the wild heart of this place begins to beat again. The sound is subtle at first, the whisper of wind through crevices, the distant crack of shifting ice, the faint splash of water meeting land. Then it grows, the rhythm building, as if the entire landscape is remembering itself. The penguins awaken from their clusters, their feathers coated with frost, their movements slow, deliberate, their eyes still heavy with the long winter. They stretch their wings, shaking loose the cold, and begin to call to one another. The sound rises across the plain, echoing against the cliffs. It is not a song, but a statement, that a reminder that life has endured, that the night has passed, and that the cycle continues. They move toward the water, drawn by instinct and memory. The sea calls to them with the same voice. It has always used a deep, unending hum that seems to exist inside their bones. The young follow the adults, their steps unsteady, yet full of purpose. The path they take is ancient, carved into the ice by generations. Before them, as they reach the edge, they pause, their reflections mirrored perfectly in the water. Then one leaps and another, and soon the surface explodes in a storm of motion. The ocean receives them like an old friend. The penguins dive and twist through the water, their black and white bodies flashing in the light. The cold no longer matters. The sea is home. It is freedom. It is the pulse of the earth. Itself beneath them, the krill shimmer like dust caught in sunlight. The fish move in silver. Ribbons, the whales glide far. Below their massive shapes, casting shadows that stretch for miles. The entire ocean is alive, moving, breathing, thinking the water carries more than life. It carries memory. It remembers every migration, every storm, every birth. It remembers the ships that once hunted the whales, the storms that tore the glaciers apart, the songs that have echoed through its depths for centuries. When the whales surface, the sound of their breath fills the air. Their voices roll across the horizon long, deep, resonant. The kind of sound that feels more like touch than hearing. The seals answer with low growls, the birds with sharp cries, and the wind carries it all across the endless plains. It is a symphony of existence, each note distinct yet perfectly blended. Into the next above them, the sky transforms from pale gold to endless blue. The clouds thin like whispers of smoke. The air feels alive, each breath crisp, pure electric. The albatross returns to the wind, its wings catching invisible currents that circle the blanks. Continent, it glides without effort, its body still, its mind one with the motion of the world. It will fly thousands of miles without rest, crossing oceans, following the scent of life that rises from the sea. Its flight is not escape, belonging the freedom of a creature that knows its place in the pattern of things as it glides. It watches the world below, the whales, the seals, the penguins, the glaciers moving like rivers of frozen time. It sees it all, and it understands that nothing here is still, nothing here is separate. Every motion feeds another, every breath connects to the next. The balance is perfect, but fragile, held together by rhythm and respect for every creature that thrives. Here there are 1,000 that perish, yet nothing is wasted. The sea reclaims all and gives all again. In this endless exchange, there is wisdom, a truth older than humanity, that the purpose of life is not to conquer, but to continue. The scientists who live among these creatures know this. A truth, though they do not always speak it. They walk upon the ice in silence, their instruments glinting in the sunlight, their breaths forming small clouds that drift away into the wind. They study the air, the water, the snow, searching for answers about the future of the world. But what they truly study, without realizing it, is balance. They measure the temperature of the sea and find it rising. They listen to the ice and hear it cracking. They look into the data and see the pulse of the planet slowing. The changes are small, but relentless. The glaciers retreat, the sea grows warmer, the krill migrate farther south, and the creatures must follow. The penguins travel longer distances to find food. The whales shift their routes, the seals give birth upon thinner ice yet. Still they endure, still they adapt for life. Here has no choice but to move forward, to bend with the changing world. It is what life has always done since the beginning of time. Adapt, endure, continue for all its harshness. Antarctica is not cruel. It is honest. It reveals the truth of survival, that nothing is guaranteed, that strength is not in resistance, but in resilience. When the storms come, and they always do, the sky turns black, the wind howls across the plains at 100 miles an hour, the snow blinds and burns, yet the creatures endure. The penguins huddle tighter, the seals dive deep, the whales move to calmer waters. The birds ride the storm instead of fleeing from it. They turn chaos into grace. They find stillness within movement. And when the storm passes, they emerge again, unchanged, yet renewed. This is their gift, their understanding, that the world is not against them, it is part of them. Even the storms serve a purpose. They cleanse, they reshape, they remind the living that life is never static, that to survive is to change. When the wind dies, the light returns stronger. The sea sparkles, the ice glows, the air clears until it feels like the sky has been reborn. The world is beautiful again, pure, unspoiled, endless. But the beauty is not in its perfection. It is in its persistence, the ability to remain after everything has tried to erase it, the same way the first life once clung to the ocean floor billions of years ago. Beneath crushing pressure and total darkness, that same force lives here still. The desire to continue, the refusal to vanish. This is the heart of Antarctica. Not its cold, not its danger, but its endurance. And from that endurance comes grace, a kind of peace that can only exist in places untouched by greed, by noise, by the ferrets. Hunger to control. Here there is no power, only presence, no wealth, only balance. The ice does not compete with the sea. The sea does not envy the sky. Everything moves as it must, each fulfilling its role in the great circle of being. As the days stretch into weeks, the sun climbs higher, the air warms, and the first signs of thaw appear. Rivers of meltwater carve through the ice, singing softly as they move, the sound like laughter, like the whisper of time itself. The land beneath begins to awaken. Ancient mosses emerge from beneath the snow, tiny green patches that hold the memory of summers long past, their roots alive. Even after years of darkness, microscopic creatures swim within the meltwater, invisible to the naked eye, yet vital to everything above them. They are the builders of life, the silent architects of renewal, feeding the krill, the fish, the birds, the entire chain of existence that stretches from the depths to the clouds. All of it begins here in the smallest, unseen places, in the quiet and bi. The dark, the world begins again. The penguins march once more, their feathers sleek, their steps steady, their calls filling the air like drums. They move toward the breeding grounds, guided by instinct, by the pull of the season, by the rhythm of the earth itself. They will face the cold again, the darkness again, the endless struggle, and they will endure as they always have. Their journey is the same as it has been for millions of years, and yet it is never the same, for each step is new, each moment unrepeatable. The whales will return from the north, the seals will bear their young, the birds will hatch their eggs, and the cycle will continue for another year, another age, another eternity. Life will bloom, then fade, then bloom again, until the last ice melts and the last breath of the last creature fades into the wind. And even then the memory will remain imprinted in the water, in the light, in the stars. For nothing truly ends. It only changes. The world will remember, because the world is memory. Every drop of water, every grain of ice, every echo of sound, to a record of what has been. As the sun begins to set once more, the sky ignites in colors beyond imagination. Crimson, orange, violet. The light bends through the atmosphere, reflecting upon the snow until the entire continent glows. It is as if the earth itself is on fire, not with destruction, but with life. With the brilliance of being, the penguins stand upon the shore, their silhouettes framed against the burning sky. The whales breach one last time, sending plumes of mist into the air that glow like gold. The albatross circles high, its wings cutting through the last rays of light, and the seals call softly to one another. The world falls silent again, but it is not an empty silence. It is full. It hums with the presence of everything that has lived and everything that will live. The light fades slowly, sinking beneath the horizon, and as it does, the stars return infinite, eternal, watching over the frozen land, and in that endless starlight, the wild heart of Antarctica continues to beat steady, unwavering, eternal. There are places on this planet where time itself seems to hesitate, where the air carries not only cold but memory, and Antarctica is one of those places. It is not just land or ice or ocean. It is an ancient witness, a living chronicle of the brinders Antarctica, Earth's heartbeat. It remembers the first winds that carved mountains from stone, the first waters that froze into glass, the first light that broke across a silent sea. The ice here is more than frozen water. It is the library of the world, each layer a page, written by centuries of storms, volcanoes, and sunlight deep beneath the surface. Scientists drill carefully, extracting cylinders of ice long and narrow, each one glowing faintly in the cold light, like a translucent scroll. When they look closely, they see tiny bubbles trapped within the ice bubbles of air, older than human civilization, older even than the species itself. These pockets hold the breath of ancient atmospheres, the whispers of forests that no longer exist, residue of long-forgotten summers. As they study these samples, they read the climate of history, the warmth and the cold, the floods and the droughts, the rise and fall of carbon, and with it, the story of life itself. In these bubbles lies the evidence that the world has changed many times before, that the planet has frozen and thawed and frozen again, but never has it changed this fast. The graphs they draw tell a story of acceleration, of imbalance, of a rhythm. Once perfect, now unsteady, the numbers climb the E. Ice retreats, and the lead silence of the poles grows heavier. The scientists work in the bitter wind, their instruments clicking their breath, clouding in the air, and though they are surrounded by emptiness, they feel the presence of something immense watching them. From the weight of the sky, from the stillness of the snow, they know this place is not dying, it is warning. When the drills stop, they listen to the sound of the glacier beneath their feet. It is alive, it moves, it groans, it breathes slow, but relentless, like a creature, ancient beyond comprehension. Its voice is deep and low, a rumble that travels through the soles of their boots into their bones. It reminds them that the earth is not an object to be studied, it is a being to be respected. They look out across the horizon, where the light bends over miles of frozen ocean, and realize that they are standing inside the lungs of the planet. The ice that forms here reflects sunlight back into space, keeping the world cool. The waters that melt here flow into the ocean, regulating currents that feed coral reefs thousands of miles away. What happens in Antarctica does not stay in Antarctica. It travels through every gust of wind, every drop of rain, every living breath. The scientists return to their jocktoplagrain.com. Small outposts, isolated structures of steel and glass, surrounded by nothing but endless white at night. They sit together drinking coffee, their faces red from windburn, their voices low. They speak not of data, but of wonder, of how the aurora seem to move in time, with their heartbeat, of how the ice beneath the microscope looked like galaxies of frozen stars. They speak of beauty, even in the face of crisis, for they know that to love something truly, one must first understand it outside their windows. The aurora unfolds again, silent, slow, impossible. The sky turns green and violet. The snow glows blue. The ocean glimmers black and silver. And for a moment, all fear disappears, replaced by awe. They know then that they are not separate from this world. They are its memory, its continuation. They are not saving it. They are a part of it. And perhaps that realization is the most important discovery of all. Beyond the human outposts, The world continues untouched. The penguins march the whales, sing the seals. Sleep. The albatross glides above the waves. Everything in harmony, everything in motion. Even as the ice melts, even as the climate shifts, life adjusts. It always has. It always will. Yet adaptation is not without cost. Every degree of change, every melted sheet, every disrupted current echoes through the web of life. The krill move deeper. The whales travel farther. The penguins lose their feeding grounds. The seals must find new ice shelves. And the delicate balance that has held for millennia begins to tremble. The ocean absorbs the heat, growing warmer, more acidic. Its currents change, its rhythm falters, and the message written in the ice becomes clearer. The time of ignorance is over. The planet is speaking, and the voice it uses is the sound of melting the crack of glaciers, the silence where there should be song. Yet within that warning there is still grace. The world has not given up. It has simply revealed its limits. And in that revelation there is a call not for despair but for remembrance, for humility, for understanding. The scientists write their reports, they publish their data. But the true message of this place cannot be printed. It must be felt. It lives in the sound of the wind howling across the ice, in the sight of a whale breaching beneath a burning sky. In the moment, a penguin dives into the unknown, trusting only in the rhythm of its ancestors. It lives in the realization that we are all connected by water, by air, by time. The earth is not something we stand upon. It is something we are. Part of every heartbeat of every creature echoes within us. Every breath we take contains the memory of this frozen place. The next time a human stands upon this ice, it may look different. Perhaps there will be more water than land. Perhaps the colonies will have moved. Perhaps the glaciers will have retreated farther inland. But even then, the spirit of this place will remain. It is too vast, too ancient, too sacred to be erased. It will find new balance, new beauty, new life. For life always finds a way. May not look the same, but it will endure, as it always has. Long after our machines have gone silent and our cities have turned to dust, the whales will still sing, the wind will still move, the ice will still glow beneath the light of the sun. The wild heart of Antarctica will still beat slow, deep, eternal when night falls again upon the continent, and the stars return in their billions. The planet feels whole. The silence spreads across the ocean, touching every shore, carrying with it the memory of what it means to be alive in that silence. There is not sorrow, but truth. A truth that the human race has forgotten, but can still remember, that to exist is to belong, that to take is to give, that to breathe is to share, that nothing truly dies. As long as something remembers, the snow falls lightly once more, covering footprints, machines, traces of presence, as if the earth itself is tucking them into sleep. The air grows still, the sea calm. The aurora ripples one last time across the dark sky and fades. Into the horizon the world exhales and the ice listens. The stars shimmer brighter, their light reflecting upon the frozen peaks, and somewhere beneath the surface, deep in the ancient dark, the ocean stirs with quiet motion, a reminder that, even in silence, even in stillness, the heart continues to beat, and that is enough. It has always been enough. The world of ice stretches into eternity, under a sky that feels older than time itself. The light has softened into a silver glow that ripples across the frozen sea, like breath on glass. The wind moves slowly now, gentle, deliberate, as though the planet itself is conserving its strength, preparing for the deep stillness that comes before rebirth here at the edge of existence. The last frontier of the living earth, there is a silence that can only be described as sacred, the kind that humbles even the Prado, loudest heart, and quiets every thought into reverence. The ice beneath the feet of explorers is not merely frozen water, it is history compressed into crystal layers, a record of everything that has ever been. Every snowflake that fell 1,000 years ago still sleeps here, untouched, unbroken, waiting for the warmth of discovery. Every sound in this place carries, meaning the crack of distant ice is the sound of mountains, moving the whisper of snow is the voice of the wind, reshaping the world, and the faint, rhythmic hum that rises from below is the pulse of water flowing in tunnels carved through the glacier, unseen but constant as the breath of the planet itself. In this land there are no borders, no nations, no ownership. There is only the truth of nature, stripped of all illusion, the truth that everything which lives here exists through cooperation, not competition. The penguin depends on the fish on the krill on the sunlight, and the sunlight on the ice. Itself, it is a chain, unbroken by greed or pride, a balance that has endured longer than memory. And yet even here change is arriving like a shadow. The ice shelves that once stood immovable now fracture and collapse. The glaciers retreat, revealing mountains that have not seen the sun in millennia. The sea rises slow, but certain, swallowing the edges of the world inch by inch. The creatures adapt because they must, but their adaptation carries a quiet sorrow, a knowledge that what was once eternal is now uncertain, and the bribely air itself seems to carry that sorrow, a faint ache that hangs between the gusts of wind. The whales return to these waters later each year, their songs lower and longer, as if mourning the places that no longer echo them. Their voices roll across the sea, haunting and magnificent. They are the storytellers of the deep, carrying memories from one generation to the next. Their language older than words, older than the ice they swim through when they breach the surface. Their massive bodies break the ice, horizons scattering spray that catches the light like diamonds. For a moment, it is as if the ocean itself has risen to breathe, to remind the world that it still lives above them. The albatross glides effortlessly, wings stretched wide, as it follows the curve of the wind. It watches the changing sea, the thinning ice, the shifting light. It has seen this all before in other forms, across other ages. For the albatross is the witness of time. It has flown through centuries of storms, and calm across oceans that never sleep, its flight eternal. Its wisdom, quiet beneath the cliffs, the penguins gather once more. The next generation of chicks now grown strong, they stand at the edge of the water, preparing for their first migration. The air is alive with sound, their cries, a mixture of fear and excitement, a symphony of instinct. The adults watch in silence, for they know what lies ahead. The ocean is both cradle and grave. It gives life, but demands everything in return. When the young finally leap into the waves, the colony erupts into motion, thousands diving one after another, their bodies slicing through the water with elegance and power. The surface churns with light and life, and for a moment it feels as if the world has been reborn beneath them. The ocean is rich again. Schools of fish shimmer like liquid glass. The krill swarm in endless motion. The circle continues, though smaller, quieter, yet still alive. The seals follow, sleek and patient, their movements like smoke underwater. They glide between the bait shadows, their dark eyes watchful, their bodies built for both grace and brutality. They too play their part in the rhythm of survival, their hunts swift, precise, merciful in its own way. For in this world, death is never meaningless. It feeds it, sustains it, renews. Even as one life ends, another begins, and the sea holds them all, without judgment, without cruelty. It is a perfect order born of chaos, a harmony that no human hand could ever create. As the sun climbs higher, it casts long beams across the ice, catching on ridges and peaks, turning the world into a cathedral of light. The air sparkles with frost, the sea glows blue from beneath the ice, and for a moment, everything seems suspended between worlds, neither land nor water, neither life, death. This is the heart of Antarctica, the breath between pulses, the silence between songs. And it is here in this fragile space that the meaning of endurance becomes clear. Endurance is not strength, it is surrender. It is the ability to yield without breaking, to bend with the wind, to freeze, and thaw, to change, and still remain true. The ice knows this. It cracks and heals. The sea knows this. It rises and falls. And even the creatures know this. They migrate, they adapt, they trust the rhythm that has carried them through 1,000 storms. And this rhythm is the true wisdom of the planet. The understanding that survival is not victory, it is harmony. As night begins to fall again, the light fades slowly. The horizon burns with soft fire pink and gold, melting into indigo. The aurora stirs above, shimmering like a dream. It twists across the sky in rivers of green and violet, reflecting upon the sea, until the world above and below seem to merge into one vast, living mirror. The whales sing once more, their calls vibrating through the ice. The penguins huddle together against the coming cold. The seals curl upon the ice, and the albatross soars into the fading light, its silhouette framed against the stars. The wind softens into a sigh, and the earth itself seems to listen. The stars burn brighter, each one reflected in the ice like a memory of fire. In this silence, the planet speaks not in words, but in feeling. In the ache of beauty, too vast to hold in the peace that follows, surrender, it is here that humanity's presence feels smallest and yet most significant. For though we are fragile, though our time is brief, we are capable of hearing this music, capable of remembering this harmony. And perhaps that is why we were given the gift of awareness, not to dominate, but to witness, to understand that we are part of this rhythm, not apart from it. To see in the light of the aurora not just the beauty of the world, but the reflection of our own soul. For the same forces that move the tides, move the blood within our veins. The same cycles that shape the ice, shape our lives. We too rise, we too fall, we too endure as dawn approaches. The first light touches the frozen sea and the world awakens again. The whales breach the penguins, dive, the wind returns. The ice cracks and sings, and the song of life begins anew. This is the promise of Antarctica, that no matter how much changes, no matter how deep the cold or fierce the storm, life will always find its way back to light. This continent does not simply exist. It reminds us of who we are, of what we come from, and what we are meant to protect. It is not just the end of the earth, it is its beginning, a reminder written in snow and silence that the wild heart of the planet beats still, and as long as it beats, there is hope, not the easy hope of comfort, but the fierce hope of endurance. The kind that refuses to vanish even when all else does, the kind that burns quietly beneath the ice, waiting for the next sunrise and the next chance to begin again. There are mornings in Antarctica when the light arrives so slowly that the line between night and day seems to vanish. The horizon blurs, the sea becomes glass, and the sky breathes in shades of pale blue and gold. It is in these moments that the world feels both infinite and intimate, as if time itself has paused to listen. The air is crisp, the kind of cold that cuts deep, yet somehow feels alive, carrying with it the scent of salt and ice and memory. Everything here moves in silence, but nothing is still. The wind shapes the snow. The ice shifts beneath its own weight, and beneath that the ocean moves like a hidden heartbeat, carrying with it the pulse of the entire planet. To stand here is to feel the scale of existence, to understand that the Earth is vast and yet fragile, that life, even in its smallest form, carries a strength that defies reason far out upon the frozen coast. A colony of emperor penguins gathers their black and white forms, dotting the endless white plain. They move in slow procession, their voices echoing through the still air, the sound, a mixture of calls and songs that rise and fall like music. This is their world, harsh and merciless, and yet perfectly designed for them. Their bodies wrapped in layers of warmth, their instincts sharper than any tool, their loyalty unbreakable. The young have grown strong, their feathers thick, their curiosity endless. They huddle near their parents, waiting for the signal that will send them toward the sea. They do not fear the water, though. It hides both life and death beneath its surface. They trust it, for it has always provided, as their ancestors have done for thousands of years. So too will they dive into the unknown, because that is what survival requires. Trust not in certainty, but in rhythm, in the quiet understanding that life moves forward even when the path is unclear above them. The sky opens in vast stillness, clouds drifting like smoke. The light bends across the ice, scattering in 1,008 directions. The air hums faintly as if filled with invisible energy, and far in the distance, a sound begins, deep, low, resonant, the voice of a glacier shifting within itself. The sound is like thunder trapped in stone. It rolls across the plain, carrying power and age beyond comprehension. The penguins pause, listening. The earth is speaking again, beneath the ice. Ancient rivers move, carrying cold water toward the sea. They carve new paths, unseen, reshaping the continent. Grain by grain, the glaciers advance, retreat in cycles so long that even the mountains cannot remember their beginnings. Within their frozen depths lie the fossils of forgotten worlds, traces of forests that once grew, where now only ice remains. In those frozen layers lie the proof that the earth has always changed, always adapted, always found its balance. But now the balance trembles for the first time, not from nature but from those who have forgotten they are part of it. Far to the north, ships cut through the sea, their engines rumbling, their wakes disturbing waters. Seas that have slept for centuries. They bring with them heat and noise, the kind that disorients, the wails that clouds, the song of the orca that drives the seals farther from their breeding grounds. The human world reaches even here to the edge of the planet. And though its touch is light, its consequence is heavy. The scientists who live among the ice know this better than anyone. They measure the rising temperatures, the thinning ice, the shifts in current and wind. They study patterns that once followed predictable rhythms and now move with restless uncertainty. They see beauty still, but they also see fragility. They stand outside their small shelters, their faces turned toward the vast white horizon, and know they are watching history change. They are not separate from it. They are witnesses, participants, perhaps even the cause. Yet within them there remains wonder, for even in decline, Antarctica is magnificent. Its storms are symphonies, its silence is scripture, its beauty unbroken. Even as it transforms, the scientists take samples, record data, and then simply look outward in awe. The sky above them ignites with aurora, the colors rippling like silk waves of green and violet flowing across the heavens, their light reflected upon the burning ice below, until it seems the entire world is alive with fire and water. This is the planet dreaming. This is what it means to be alive, to exist within a story larger than comprehension, to feel both insignificant and infinite. The whales rise, again breaking through the waves, their massive bodies gleaming in the pale light. their breath exploding into mist. They move in unison, following invisible paths through the sea, their songs echoing across miles, each note carrying information, emotion, memory. One calls another answers, and in their song the ocean finds its language beneath them. The krills shimmer, their endless movement sustaining everything that lives above their dance, simple yet sacred. A reminder that the smallest things often carry the greatest weight. As the day stretches onward, the penguins gather closer at the edge of the sea. The young begin to dive one after another, each splash a declaration of courage. The water embraces them, cold, sharp, yet alive. They swim deeper, chasing fish, learning the rhythm of the current, understanding without instruction that this is home. Life begins again, in motion, always in motion. The adults follow standing, watch upon the ice, their eyes on the horizon, where the light bends and the ocean breathes. They know that the cycle will continue, that what is born must one day return, and that nothing truly ends. It only changes. The sky grows softer, the colors deepening into amber and blue, the wind slows, the world exhales, the scientists retreat into their sky-haze shelters. The animals settle into rest, the light fades, and the first stars appear faint against the twilight one by one, until the sky is filled with them. The aurora returns, shimmering gently above the horizon. The sea grows calm, the waves, small and slow, reflecting the glow of the heavens above. In this stillness, everything feels connected. The air, the ice, the water, the life that moves through it all. Everything breathing in the same rhythm, the same pulse. And in that unity there is peace. A peace that is not the absence of movement, but the acceptance of it. The understanding that change is not destruction, it is renewal. As night deepens, the temperature drops, the ice hardens, the sound of cracking fills the air, sharp then distant, like echoes of memory. Yet even as the cold tightens its grip, the ocean beneath remains alive. The whales still sing, the krills still drift, the penguins still swim, and above them the stars still shine, all of it connected, all of it aware, the universe listening to itself, breathing through every living thing. It is in this awareness that the truth of Antarctica reveals itself. It is not a place of endings, but beginnings. It is the first breath of the earth, the silence before the storm, the reminder that creation and destruction are one and the same, that to live is to change, and to change is to continue. When dawn comes again, the first light touches the peaks of ice, and they burn with gold. The sea awakens, the wind stirs, the penguins rise, and the world begins once more. The scientists step outside their shelters, their eyes squinting against the brightness, and for a moment they forget the data, the warnings, the fear. They simply look and see the truth, that despite everything the world is still beautiful, it is still alive. It is still worth fighting for, because even here at the edge of existence, where the cold rules and the wind erases all traces of man, there remains hope, the kind of hope that is quiet, steady, eternal, the kind that does not fade. When the night comes but grows stronger within it, Antarctica breathes its ancient breath, and the world listens. And in that frozen heartbeat, in that unbroken silence, the wild heart of the planet continues to beat, whispering to all who will. Hear that life, though. Fragile is unstoppable, and that as long as there is light in the sky and water in the sea and wind upon the ice, there will be a future waiting to be written. The cold is alive. It moves. It breathes. It shapes the world with hands invisible but absolute. And in the farthest reaches of Antarctica, where the wind never truly sleeps, and the ice sings in low, unending tones, the story of the planet continues to unfold. layer upon layer, moment upon moment, beneath skies that feel eternal. The morning light begins its slow climb above the horizon, soft and gold and infinite, spreading across the frozen plain until even the shadows glow in. Its reflection, the surface, the ice catches the light and scatters it in all directions like shards of glass, a million fragments of brilliance painting the white expanse with a color that is not color, but something beyond it. The air itself seems to shimmer, as if the atmosphere is alive, aware, watching everything that moves through it. The penguins awaken first, their calls breaking through the stillness, their black and white forms huddled together for warmth. They begin to stir, shaking the frost from their feathers, their breath rising in silver mist around them. Their eyes gleam with intelligence and instinct, both ancient and pure. They do not question the cold or curse the distance, they simply exist within it, as they have always done, their bodies built for. This, their hearts steady in the rhythm of survival, not of comfort but of purpose. Each day they rise to feed, to protect, to endure, and in that simple pattern lies the most profound truth of all that life, no matter how harsh the circumstance, continues. Not through defiance, but through belonging. The sea waits beyond the ice line. Calm but deceptive, its surface glittering under the pale light. It hides beneath it, a world older than imagination. The whales have returned again, their silhouettes vast and graceful, gliding through the deep, their songs filling the water with sound. So deep, it becomes feeling. Their voices weave through the current, crossing miles of ocean, echoing across generations, each note carrying the weight of memory. They remember where they have been, and they remember the ones who came before, their migration paths, written not on maps but within their blood. The ocean is their home, their cradle, their legacy, and their cathedral. They sing not to be heard but to remind the world that it is alive. The scientists who watch from the ice record their sounds with reverence. Their equipment captures the vibrations, their notes, the patterns, the harmonics. But no device can truly measure the emotion behind it, the sound of life, acknowledging itself. When they listen, they fall silent, because what they hear is not data, it is communion above the surface. The seals rest upon the drifting ice, their sleek bodies gleaming in the thin light. They lie motionless, their eyes half closed, their peace deceptive. For every sense remains alert, every breath measured in this world. Stillness is not safety, it is patience. They know the orcas move below unseen, but near their presence, felt in the shifting of the water, in the whisper of distant movement. The seals know that to survive here is to understand timing, to feel the rhythm of the ocean, not to fight it but to flow with it. The orcas approach with elegance, their movements coordinated, their minds sharp. They hunt with intelligence, not cruelty. Their chase is swift, a test of skill, not domination when they strike. It is clean, it is quick, it is the law of the sea, written long before man and carried out with grace. When it is done, the ocean falls silent again, and life continues. No malice, no triumph, only balance, the kind of balance the human world has forgotten. The penguins dive once more, the young learning, the path through the cold. The water takes them, and the current guides them beneath the surface. They swim through light that filters like glass, through curtains of ice. The sound of their bodies cutting through the sea creates a rhythm almost musical. They chase fish, their movements fluid, precise, instinctive above them. The ice shifts, the cracks echo like thunder rolling across the sky. The earth itself, stretching and breathing as if shaking off the weight of its own history. Far below the surface, ancient creatures drift through the darkness, glowing faintly with their own light. their translucent forms moving in slow, hypnotic patterns. These are the oldest beings of the planet, remnants of a time when the Earth was young, their existence proof that life needs little to thrive, only patience and adaptation. Their beauty lies in their simplicity, in the quiet defiance of their endurance. The world above knows little of them, yet their role is immense. They feed the krill, they shape the balance, they remind the ocean of its own eternity. As the day progresses, the light sharpens the air, grows colder, the wind rises across the open plain, carrying with it fine crystals of snow that dance like dust in sunlight. They swirl around the cliffs, catching in cracks and ridges, creating patterns that shift and disappear with every gust. The sound is haunting, a constant whisper like voices, carried from 1,000 miles away in this place. Even the wind has memory. It tells stories of past storms, of forgotten travelers, of mountains long buried beneath the weight of time. The scientists move through this frozen world, wrapped in layers of fabric, and silence, their faces hidden behind masks, their eyes the only human part visible. And even those reflect awe. They measure the ice, they drill, they sample, they record, but often they stop to simply look, to stand in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by everything. The sky above them, stretching beyond sight, the horizon endless, the sound of their own heartbeat, faint against the wind. In these moments, the difference between them and the penguin or the whale seems to vanish. They too are creatures trying to endure, to understand, to belong. One of them kneels beside a hole cut into the ice and lowers a camera into the deep. The screen flickers with images of darkness, then movement, flashes of silver, the shadows of fish, the pulse of jellyfish, glowing like small stars. The Previously Brevis 80.R. Scientist watches quietly, whispering to herself, a wordless prayer of wonder, for she knows she is not seeing the unknown, she is seeing the unseen. And that realization changes everything. When night begins to fall, the transformation is slow and mesmerizing. The light fades, but it does not disappear. It becomes softer, deeper. The world turns blue, then violet, then black, and then the stars appear, not in 2s or 10s but in millions, spilling across the sky so densely they seem to form rivers of light. The aurora begins to move above them, green waves flowing in silence, reflecting upon the ice until the world seems divided between two heavens. One above, one below, the whales rise to the surface, their breath exploding into the air like fire. The penguins huddle closer, the seals nestle against each other. The wind slows, and the sound of the earth becomes a hum, low, steady, endless. It is in this moment that everything feels connected, every breath, every movement, every flicker of light, part of the same vast rhythm, the same infinite song. And within that song there is peace, not the peace of stillness, but the peace of understanding, that life will go on no matter what. The humans, sitting in their shelters, look out across the frozen expanse. The god o mater 5 lady hood, glow of the aurora reflecting in their eyes. And for the first time in months, they feel small but not afraid. They feel fragile, but not alone. They realize that this place, though distant and cold, is not separate from them. It is them. It is the origin, the mirror, the teacher, the one truth that remains unbroken. As the night deepens, the temperature falls, but the world remains awake. The sea moves beneath the ice. The stars shimmer, the wind hums, the whales sing, and the heart of the earth continues to beat. Slow, powerful, eternal, reminding all who exist within it that nothing is truly lost, that every ending is only another beginning, that the same force that moves the tides moves the soul, and that even in the coldest, darkest corners of creation, there will always be light, there will always be life. there will always be hope. The wind returns to the continent like a spirit rising from sleep. It sweeps across the endless plains of snow and whispers through the cracks of the ancient ice, carrying with it the voice of everything that has ever lived here. The voice, the sea, the mountains, the creatures that endure the passage of time beneath the vast sky. The world stretches outward, without boundary, a landscape so immense that distance loses, meaning and direction becomes a feeling rather than a fact in. This place, the air, itself has weight. It presses against the skin, sharp and clean, filled with the scent of salt and frost. The light bends in ways no other place, allows painting the horizon in pale gold that bleeds into blue, and then fades into the blinding white of the ice. It is not simply a color but a sensation, a language spoken through silence in the distance. The sea lies half frozen, its surface fractured into endless mosaics of floating icebergs, some as small as pebbles, others as vast as frozen frife. Cities, their edges, glow with faint blue fire under the low sun, as if lit from within by memory. The ice moves slowly with purpose, pushed by the rhythm of tides that have never stopped since the birth of the planet. And beneath that frozen surface, life pulses, relentless, tireless, unseen. This is the hidden heart of Antarctica, the place where the invisible sustains, the visible, where every flicker of light above the surface depends on the quiet labor of what moves in the dark. Below here, the krill rise again, their numbers endless, their movements delicate, like drifting clouds. Their bodies shimmer faintly in the faint shafts of light that pierce the ice above. They feed on the plankton that bloom when the sunlight returns, and in turn they feed the entire world. Their presence is both humble and magnificent, a testament to the truth that the smallest things can carry the greatest weight around them. Fish move in shimmering schools, their silver bodies slicing through the dark like streaks of moonlight. The seals hunt among them, their sleek forms weaving through the water with impossible grace, each movement a blend of power and precision. They are masters of this world, not through dominance, but through understanding. They know the currents, the subtle patterns, the seasons. They follow the rhythm of the earth, not the will of their hunger above the ice. The penguins stand in silent clusters, their feathers gleaming with frost. They face the wind without flinching, their bodies aligned like soldiers before an invisible flange. Tide. They have lived this ritual for generations, standing together through the storms, through the darkness, through the waiting. Their unity is their strength. They survive not as individuals, but as a single living organism connected by instinct and trust. The sound of their calls rises through the cold air, sharp and rhythmic echoing against the cliffs. It is both music and language, a declaration to the world that they are here still alive, still enduring, not through conquest, but through faith. When one falls, another takes its place. When one weakens, the others protect it in this world. Survival is not victory, it is communion. And from that communion comes the quiet power that holds this land together. The whales arrive once more rising. From the depths like shadows of another age, their size defies logic, their grace defies reason. They move through the water as if part of it, their bodies reflecting the light of the sun in flashes of gold and blue. Their breath erupts into the freezing air, forming clouds that linger like ghosts above the waves. Their voices follow deep, resonant, calling to one another across miles of sea. Their songs filled with knowledge passed down through blood and memory. They are the keepers of continuity, the living archives of the ocean. Each note a story older than civilization. Their presence reminds the world that life has always found a way to endure, through fire, through ice, through silence. The scientists who study them record the patterns. All of their songs, they map the migration routes. They collect the data. But when the whales breach before them, they forget all measurement. They stand in awe. They feel the tremor of the water beneath their feet and understand that they are witnessing something sacred, something that belongs not to science, but to the soul. In the evenings, the light begins to fade. The sun sinks low, but never fully disappears. It lingers at the edge of the horizon, casting long shadows that stretch across the ice until the world glows with soft orange and violet. The air cools to crystal clarity, and the first stars appear reflected upon the frozen sea. The aurora follows, dancing slowly across the sky, its colors shifting in waves of green and pink and gold. It moves like thought, like memory, like the heartbeat of the universe itself. The penguins huddle closer, their breath forming halos of mist around their heads. The seals retreat to their resting grounds. The whales drift beneath the surface, singing to the stars and the whales. Scientists stand outside, their shelters, their eyes wide, their hearts silent. For in this light they see eternity. They see the earth, not as a possession, but as a gift, a living thing, older, wiser, and more fragile than they had ever imagined. As the night deepens, the temperature falls and the world grows. Still, the only sound is the faint groan of ice shifting beneath the pressure of its own weight. The air so clear that every star above seems close enough to touch the Milky Way, stretches across the sky like a bridge of fire, connecting everything that exists to everything that has ever been. It is impossible to stand here and not feel changed, not feel the boundary between the human and the infinite. It dissolves. This is not isolation, it is revelation. It is the realization that the same atoms that formed the ice, the same energy that drives the tides, also flows through the blood of those who stand upon it. And in that realization there is humility, a kind of peace that cannot be found in cities or noise or conquest here in the bay. Silence. One remembers what it means to belong to the earth rather than rule it. When dawn comes again, the light returns with a brilliance that blinds the ice, gleams the ocean, sparkles the air, vibrates with sound and movement. The penguins dive once more. The whales breach, the seals call, and the cycle begins anew. It is as if the entire continent inhales and exhales in time. With the heartbeat of the planet, and everything that lives within it, moves to that rhythm. No one commands it. No one owns it yet. All obey it willingly because it is not law, it is truth. The truth that all life is connected by need, by trust, by the invisible thread of continuation. When the scientists pack their instruments and prepare to leave for the season, they do so. With reverence they have come to study, but they leave as witnesses. They have gathered numbers, but they carry away something far greater. A sense of belonging to something immense and unknowable. They look back one last time at the horizon, where the ice meets, the sky where the light bends and the world blurs, and they feel the pull of it in their chest, the pull of the place that asks for nothing but remembrance. They know they will return not out of duty but out of longing, for Antarctica is not a big destination. It is a mirror. It shows the truth of life, stripped bare of distraction and noise. It shows the strength of stillness, the beauty of endurance, the wisdom of simplicity. It teaches without words. It forgives without reason. It exists without apology. And, in its silence, it offers the world a choice to listen or to forget. The wind rises once more, sweeping across the vast plain. It carries the faint sound of the whales, the whisper of the ice, the distant call of a penguin. It carries the memory of everything that has ever been alive. And as it moves across the endless horizon, it whispers the same message it has carried since the dawn of time, that life will go on, that the world though wounded, will heal, that as long as there is breath in the sea and song in the air and light upon the ice, the wild heart of Antarctica will continue to beat strong and unbroken, eternal. The wind returns to the continent like a spirit rising from sleep. It sweeps across the endless plains of snow and whispers through the cracks of the ancient ice, carrying with it the voice of everything that has ever lived here, the voice of the sea, the mountains, the creatures that endure the passage of time. Beneath the vast sky, the world stretches outward without boundary, a landscape so immense that distance loses meaning and direction becomes a feeling rather than a fact. This place, the air, itself has weight. It presses against the skin, sharp and clean, filled with the scent of salt and frost. The light bends in ways no other place allows, painting the horizon in pale gold that bleeds into blue and then fades into the blinding white of the ice. It is not simply a color, but a sensation, a language spoken through silence in the distance. The sea lies half-frozen its surface, fractured into endless mosaics of floating icebergs, some as small as pebbles, others as vast as cities. Their edges glow with faint blue fire under the low sun, as if lit from within by memory. The ice moves slowly with purpose, pushed by the rhythm of tides that have never stopped since the birth of the planet, and beneath that frozen surface, life pulses, relentless, tireless, unseen. This is the hidden heart of Antarctica, the place where the invisible sustains, the visible where every flicker of light above the surface depends on the quiet labor of what moves in the dark. Below here, the krill rise again, their numbers endless, their movements delicate like drifting clouds. Their bodies shimmer faintly in the faint shafts of light that pierce the ice above. They feed on the plankton that bloom when the sunlight returns, and in turn they feed the entire world. Their presence is both humble and magnificent, a testament to the truth that the smallest things can carry the greatest weight around them. Fish move in shimmering schools, their silver bodies slicing through the dark like streaks of moonlight. The seals hunt among them, their sleek forms weaving through the water with impossible grace. Each movement a blend of power and precision. They are masters of this world, not through dominance, but through understanding. They know the currents, patterns, the seasons. They follow the rhythm of the earth, not the will of their hunger above the ice. The penguins stand in silent clusters, their feathers gleaming with frost. They face the wind without flinching, their bodies aligned like soldiers before an invisible tide. They have lived this ritual for generations, standing together through the storms, through the darkness, through the waiting. Their unity is their strength. They survive not as individuals, but as a single living organism connected by instinct, and trust the sound of their calls rises through the cold air, sharp and rhythmic echoing against the cliffs. It is both music and language, a declaration to the world that they are here, still alive, still enduring, not through conquest, but through faith. When one falls, another takes its place. When one weakens, the other's protected in this world. Survival is not victory, it is communion. And from that communion comes the quiet power that holds this land together. The whales arrive once more, rising from the depths like shadows of another age. Their size defies logic, their grace defies reason. They move through the water, as if part of it their bodies, reflecting the light of the sun in flashes of gold and blue. Their breath erupts into death, the freezing air forming clouds that linger like ghosts above the waves. Their voices follow deep, resonant, calling to one another across miles of sea. Their songs filled with knowledge, passed down through blood and memory. They are the keepers of continuity, the living archives of the ocean. Each note a story older than civilization, Their presence reminds the world that life has always found a way to endure, through fire, through ice, through silence. The scientists who study them record the patterns. Of their songs, they map the routes, migration routes, they collect the data. But when the whales breach before them, they forget all measurement. They stand in awe. They feel the tremor of the water beneath their feet and understand that they are witnessing something sacred, something that belongs not to science but to the soul. In the evenings, the light begins to fade, the sun sinks low but never fully disappears. It lingers at the edge of the horizon, casting long shadows that stretch across the ice until the world glows with soft orange and violet. The air cools to crystal clarity, and the first stars appear reflected upon the frozen sea. The aurora follows, dancing slowly across the sky, its colors shifting in waves of green and pink and gold. It moves like thought, like memory. Like the heartbeat of the universe itself, the penguins huddle closer, their breath forming halos of mist around their heads. The seals retreat to their resting grounds. The whales drift beneath the surface, singing to the stars, and the scientists stand outside, their shelters, their eyes wide, their hearts silent. For in this light they see eternity. They see the earth not as a possession, but as a gift, a living thing, older, wiser, and more fragile than they had ever imagined. As the night deepens, the earth's temperature falls and the world grows still. The only sound is the faint groan of ice shifting beneath the pressure of its own weight. The air so clear that every star above seems close enough to touch the Milky Way stretches across the sky, like a bridge of fire, connecting everything that exists to everything that has ever been. It is impossible to stand here and not feel changed, not feel the boundary between the human and the infinite dissolve. This is not isolation. It is revelation. It is the realization that the same atoms that form the ice, the same energy that drives the tides, also flows through the blood of those who stand upon it. And in that realization, there is humility, a kind of peace that cannot be found in cities or noise or conquest. Here in the dot, silence, one remembers what it means to belong to the earth rather than rule it. When dawn comes again, the light returns with a brilliance that blinds the ice, gleams the ocean, sparkles. The air vibrates with sound and movement. The penguins dive once more. The whales breach, the seals call, and the cycle begins anew. It is as if the entire continent inhales and exhales in time with the heartbeat of the planet, and everything that lives within it moves to that rhythm. No one commands it. No one owns it yet. All obey it willingly, because it is not law, it is truth. The truth that all life is connected by need, by trust, by the invisible thread of continuation. When the scientists pack their instruments and prepare to leave for the season, they do so. With reverence they have come to study, but they leave as witnesses. They have gathered numbers, but they carry away something far greater. A sense of belonging to something immense and unknowable. They look back one last time at the horizon, where the ice meets, the sky where the light bends and the world blurs, and they feel the pull of it in their chest, the pull of the place that asks for nothing but remembrance. They know they will return not out of duty but out of longing for. Antarctica is not a destination, it is a mirror. It shows the truth of life, stripped bare of distraction and noise. It shows the strength of stillness, the beauty of endurance, the wisdom of simplicity. It teaches without words. It forgives without reason. It exists without apology. And, in its silence, it offers the world a choice to listen or to forget. The wind rises once more, sweeping across the vast plain. It carries the faint sound of the whales, the whisper of the ice, the distant call of a penguin. It carries the memory of everything that has ever been alive. And as it moves across the endless horizon, It whispers the same message it has carried since the dawn of time, that life will go on, that the world, though wounded, will heal, that as long as there is breath in the sea and song in the air and light upon the ice, the wild heart of Antarctica will continue to beat strong and unbroken, eternal. The light of the Antarctic morning comes quietly, without warning, without fanfare. It slips across the horizon like a whisper, turning the ice into glass and the air into fire. There is no sunrise here. As in other places, there is only awakening, the slow revelation of a world that was never truly asleep. The sky glows with a softness that defies description. The colors pale and infinite, blending into one another until the world seems made not of land or water, but of light. Itself, the silence is profound. Yet within it, there is sound, the faint crack of ice, the murmur of distant water, the breath of wind moving across the plain. It is the sound of life at the edge of everything, the sound of endurance, of patience, of memory beneath the frozen surface. The ocean stirs once more, the current rising from the deep, carrying warmth from places far beyond this world of ice. The water moves like thought, slow, deliberate, inevitable. It passes beneath shelves of ice that groan and ache, shift under their own weight, creating echoes that travel for miles. This is the heartbeat of the planet, ancient, steady, unrelenting, and through it, life awakens again. The krill rise in shimmering clouds, their bodies glowing faintly in the refracted light. Each one small, almost invisible, and yet together they form the foundation of existence. They are the architects of the Antarctic Circle, the first link in the chain that binds everything from the smallest fish to the greatest whale. Their movements are poetry without intention, their beauty a reflection of balance. The seals return to the ice, their sleek forms sliding effortlessly from the water, their breath rising in sharp white clouds. They rest in silence, their dark eyes scanning the horizon. They are both predator and prey, both hunter and guardian, their bodies built for survival, yet their existence depends entirely on the rhythm of the ocean. The whales pass in the distance, their songs deep and resonant, vibrating through the water, a symphony of the unseen, each note layered upon the next, weaving a tapestry of sound that speaks of time, of distance, of belonging. When they surface, the air trembles, their breath explodes into the cold sky, and for a moment they seem to touch both heaven and sea. The penguins stand upon the edge of the ice, their feathers glistening with frost, their bodies small against the immensity of the world, yet they are fearless, their black eyes bright with purpose, their movements sure and deliberate. They gather together there, voices rising in a chorus that echoes across the frozen plain. It is a sound that is carried through centuries, a sound that reminds the world that life endures not through strength, but through unity. As the sun climbs higher, the ice glows. Like crystal, the wind lifts fine particles of snow into the air, where they drift like dust in sunlight, creating a world of constant motion. Even in stillness, there is movement. Even in silence, there is sound. The scientists who live among this world of white watch. In quiet awe, their instruments hum softly, their hands wrapped in layers of fabric, their breath visible in the thin air. They take notes, record data, but their eyes reveal something more: wonder, reverence, perhaps even gratitude. They have come and here to study, to measure, to understand. But what they have found is far greater. They have found perspective. They have learned that this place does not need to be conquered or explained. It only needs to be witnessed for. Antarctica is not a riddle to solve, it is to a truth. To remember the truth that the earth is alive, that it breathes, that it feels, that it remembers what it once was, and still dreams of what it could be. Again, as the day stretches, the world shifts, The temperature rises slightly, the ice creaks and sighs. Rivers of meltwater form upon the surface, carving paths through the white landscape. The sound of trickling water is strange here, foreign, almost intrusive. Yet it is also beautiful, for within that sound lies rebirth. Promise of continuation. The cycle of life repeating itself as it always has. Even the scientists who fear what this melting means cannot deny the beauty of it. They listen, knowing that every drop carries both warning and hope. The penguins follow the streams to the edge of the sea, their reflections rippling across the water. They dive in with instinctual grace, their movements effortless, their bodies built for this dance with the ocean. They vanish beneath the waves, chasing fish, gliding through the currents. The world beneath them glows with light, filtering through the ice above a cathedral of blue and gold and silence. It is a place without boundaries, where distance loses meaning and everything moves in rhythm with everything else, a harmony that humanity has almost forgotten. The whales pass beneath the penguins, their massive forms, slow, deliberate, powerful. The smaller creatures move aside without fear, for the whales mean no harm. They are keepers of balance, their songs vibrating through the water, guiding the rhythm of the deep. Their presence felt, even when unseen. The scientists listen to their calls through underwater microphones, recording the deep, low tones that roll through the sea like the earth itself. Speaking the sounds are ancient, older than language, older than thought. Each one a story written in vibration and water, a conversation between generations. When the scientists play back the recordings in their small outposts, the sound fills the air, deep and endless. It shakes the plavorsate walls, it vibrates through their chests. It feels like listening to the soul of the world. They fall silent, because they know that this is not just sound, this is communication, not to them, but through them, a message not meant to be understood, but to be felt. As the day begins to fade, the light changes, the shadows lengthen, the world turns to gold, the sea reflects the sky, and the ice glows with a fire that is not heat, but color. The penguins return to the shore, their bodies wet, their feathers glistening. The seals shift upon the ice, curling into rest. The whales dive deeper, their songs growing fainter until they blend with the sound of the current. The scientists step outside their shelters, the wind still cold but softer now, carrying with it the scent of salt and snow. They look out across the horizon and see the aurora beginning to rise, faint green waves flowing across the darkening sky. The first stars appear, their light trembling upon the frozen plain. It is a moment of transition, the quaint handover between day and night, between light and shadow. And yet there is no fear in this darkness, only peace, the kind that comes when everything moves in perfect rhythm. As the aurora brightens, it paints the ice in color, green shifting to violet, to pink, to gold. World glows, the sea mirrors the sky, and the air hums with energy. It feels alive, as if creation itself has begun again. The scientists watch in silence. Some whisper prayers, though they do not believe. Some smile. Others weep for reasons they cannot name. They understand now that this place is not barren. It is abundant, not empty, but whole. It holds the memory of everything that has ever been and the promise of everything that will be. As the night deepens, the light of the aurora fades, and the aurora fades the light. Stars grow brighter, reflecting upon the sea, until it seems the sky has fallen to earth. The wind moves gently across the ice, carrying the faint cries of penguins, the distant songs of whales, the subtle breath of the world itself. Everything connected, everything alive. Everything listening. When dawn comes again, it comes softly, the light spreading across the horizon like the first thought. After sleep, the penguins rise, the seals stir, the whales breach the scientists' wake and step outside their breath, forming clouds in the air. And for a moment they stand still in the vast white silence and feel something that words cannot capture. Not fear, not joy, not even wonder, but belonging. They know that they are part of this rhythm, that their heartbeat echoes the pulse of the planet, that their breath joins the breath of the sea. They know that they are home, and in that moment they understand the true message of Antarctica, that to live is not to conquer, but to coexist, that survival is not about power, but balance. That the greatest strength of life is not its ability to fight, but its ability to endure, to change, to adapt, to remain within the rhythm of the world. The wind rises again, gentle, steady, eternal, and with it, the wild heart of the earth continues to beat, one breath, one wave, one song at a time, forever. The night has lifted, and the horizon of Antarctica awakens once more, bathed in pale gold that glows like the memory of fire. The light creeps slowly across the surface of the ice, touching mountain peaks and frozen plains with a tenderness that feels almost human. It moves with purpose and grace, as if the sun itself hesitates to disturb the quiet perfection of this world. The air is still crisp, pure, filled with the scent of salt and cold, the kind of air that feels alive when you breathe it. The sea, beyond the ice, glimmers faintly beneath the early light, its surface smooth like glass, hiding beneath it the vast living ocean that sustains everything in this land of silence. There is movement everywhere, though it can barely be seen. Wind carries snow in thin veils that dance across the horizon. The ice shifts with faint groans. The water hums softly against the cliffs, each sound delicate yet powerful. Together, they form the music of the earth itself, a song older than language, older than memory. The penguins stir within their colonies, their feathers gleaming in the growing light. They move together in small clusters, their calls echoing through the still morning. Their voices rise and fall like a chant, each one distinct yet blending into a harmony that fills the air. It is the sound of life declaring itself once more, a song of return, of endurance, of continuation. The young penguins, now strong from months of survival, stand at the edge of the water, their eyes fixed upon the horizon. They are drawn to the sea by something deep within, something older than thought. The ocean calls to them with its low, steady rhythm, promising both danger and life. They hesitate only for a moment before diving one after another into the waves, their bodies sleek and quick, their movements sure. They vanish beneath the surface, and the sea accepts them without question. It is as if the water has been waiting for their return below the surface. The world is alive beyond comprehension. The light filters down through layers of ice, turning the sea into a cathedral of blue and silver shadows. Fish dart between the pillars of light krill, drift in shimmering clouds, their bodies glowing faintly with bioluminescence. The whales move through this underwater world like living mountains, their great bodies gliding effortlessly, their songs echoing through the depths. The sound carries for miles, rising and falling like breath, each note a story, each vibration a thread connecting them to the rest of the ocean. The whales have returned to feed, to give birth, to teach their young. They move with reverence, as if aware that every motion sustains something greater than themselves. Near the surface, seals play among the cracks in the ice, their sleek forms twisting and turning with perfect grace. They dive and rise, their calls sharp and playful, their movements so fluid they seem to dance. They are the artists of this frozen realm, masters of motion and silence. Their joy is not human, but it is joy nonetheless. Above them, the albatross soars, its vast wings slicing through the air, It glides for hours without a single beat, carried by the invisible currents that circle the planet. It watches the sea below the ice, the whales, the penguins, and it understands, in some deep instinctive way, that all of it is connected, that everything that breathes moves in rhythm with everything else. It is not a thought, it is a truth written into the bones of the world. The scientists who remain upon this continent watch all of this. From their stations, their instruments record data, their cameras capture images, but what they truly collect is wonder. They have learned that no matter how much they measure, no matter how precise their calculations become, there is something here that defies, captures something that cannot be reduced to numbers or graphs. The essence of the place, the soul of it, perhaps exists beyond comprehension. They step outside their shelters into the cold, their faces touched by the wind, and they look across the endless white and feel the same awe that the first explorers must have felt centuries ago. The feeling that they are standing at the edge of creation, at the point where the world first learned to breathe the ice beneath their feet. Ancient, older than civilization, it holds within it the memory of the planet, each layer a record of storms, volcanoes, and seasons long gone. When they drill into it and extract the cores, they are not just studying climate, they are reading time itself, the frozen history of the Earth contained within translucent walls of ice. As they look deeper, they see the patterns, the rise and fall of temperature, the rhythm of survival, the reminder that change has always been part of life. But what they see now is different, faster, more fragile. And yet, even as the data warns of loss, the land around them reminds them of resilience, because every morning, despite the cold, despite the shifting ice, the world still wakes, the penguins still call the whales, still sing the krill, still bloom the light, still returns. The message is simple, yet profound. Life continues, always finds a way to endure. As the day passes, the wind rises, carrying fine snow that glitters in the sunlight. The ice sparkles, the sea roars softly against the cliffs, and the world feels alive with motion and sound. The scientists listen not just with their instruments, but with their hearts. For they know this is not just data, this is dialogue. The Earth speaking in the only language it has ever known: rhythm, vibration, silence. They begin to understand that they are not here to save this place, but to learn from it, to remember what it means to belong to something greater than themselves. As the sun begins to fall again, the sky ignites in a blaze of color. Gold deepens to crimson, crimson fades to violet. The light stretches across the horizon, painting the ice in hues of fire and glass. The sea mirrors it all, until it seems the world is burning with beauty, and yet in that fire there is peace. The kind of peace that comes when all things move in balance. The penguins return from the sea, their bellies full, their feathers wet, their movements slow and satisfied. They gather in circles, their voices soft, now almost gentle as they settle for the night. Seals rest upon the ice, their breath steady. The whales dive deep, their songs fading into the deep blue. The albatross glides toward the horizon, disappearing into the last light of day, and high above the first stars appear the aurora follows. Waves of green and violet stretching across the sky, twisting like ribbons of smoke. The colors reflect upon the ice, turning the world into a living mirror. The scientists stand outside in silence, their faces lit by the glow. None of them speak. They simply watch, knowing that words would only diminish what they are witnessing. It is a moment of perfect equilibrium, the meeting of earth and sky, of light and shadow, of silence and song, and within that moment there is a truth so vast and yet so simple, that it humbles even the most complex mind, that life is not about dominance or control. It is about connection. the ability to exist in harmony with all that surrounds you, to understand that every breath is borrowed, every heartbeat shared, every sunrise, a gift. As the aurora fades, the stars grow brighter, the air colder, the world quieter. Yet even in stillness the pulse remains, the deep vibration of the earth, the heartbeat that never ceases. It is there in the movement of the sea, in the shifting of the ice, in the cries of the penguins, in the songs of the whales. It is the same pulse that beats within every living thing, the same rhythm that connects all time, all existence, all memory. And as the wind sweeps across the vast white plain, carrying the faint sounds of life across the frozen sea, it seems to whisper the same message it has whispered since the beginning, that the world endures, that beauty is born from struggle, that balance is the law of survival, and that the heart of the earth will continue to beat long after the last footprint has vanished from its surface. When dawn comes again, it will come quietly. The light will return, the sea will move, the ice will sing, and the wild heart of Antarctica will keep beating, reminding the world that as long as there is life, there is hope, and as long as there is hope, there is no end, only continuation, only renewal, only the eternal rhythm of existence itself.